carries. All right, everybody, if you could just turn your mics on, we're going to call this meeting to order with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, the clerk will take the roll. That's the roll call. We're taking a roll call to make sure we have a quorum.
Okay. Here.
Neil's here.
Mike Sign.
Van Birch.
Brad Lutz is present.
Ron Pitters.
Nicole Holt.
Are we missing one? Are we at?
Harvard's
Okay. All right. Clerk will note that we have 6 out of 7 present. We have a quorum. We can continue. Item 4 on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Thank you, Neil.
A second.
Thank you, Nicole. We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is number 5, approval of the consent agenda. There are a couple things that on there that have changed, as well as an attachment that went to email. Did everybody see the last pieces of the permitting that came through an email? Did anybody else have any questions regarding things on consent?
You're talking about the cell tower attachment,
No.
right?
No, the map for the,
Maybe
There's
that-
a Harvest Bazaar map that
Oh, maybe that one didn't
was
load. on my
also
emails.
uploaded separately from the village board.
that was for the
packet.
consent agenda, Mike, we're
Yep.
talking about, yep.
Following you. The 2 out of the 3 permits were missing some information. This is one of them. I didn't get a chance to review it, but
I found Matt's for Wheels and Wings and.
they're missing items that are on the permit that the permit asks for.
Oh,
Not necessarily the map, but things on the map. So,
Do you remember what those items were?
not off the top of my head. It's in the list of bulleted items in the permitting. They're both events that have happened before. I'm not going to have an issue with it. It's a pretty simple form. I don't know why we can't get it right. So I'm good.
Anybody else have any questions on the consent agenda? I'll entertain a motion to approve it.
I'll make the motion to approve the consent agenda.
Thanks, Ron. Is there a second? I will second it. I have a motion by Ron and a second by myself to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries. Item 6 on the agenda is the public input and ideas. Limit 5 minutes per speaker. I will ask that if anybody wishes to come up and address the village board tonight, that you identify yourself with your name and address first, and then you'll have 5 minutes to speak.
Howdy, folks. Kyle Weaver, 100 Depot Road.
Hi, Kyle.
I am wearing my Osceola Wheels and Wings hat tonight. You guys know me from the Lions Club and other things that I involved in the town, but I just wanted to say there's one little minor additional detail that we clarified here last week. Our traffic plan around the airport now includes the option of people to be able to go down south on 258 and onto Farmington's Road. It's a gravel road that then turns to the west and heads back out to, so southbound traffic will be able to use that road. We did meet with the town of Farmington to make that clarification. There'll be no dust control needed or anything. They just are happy to let that happen this year. So I know in the past, the lords and kings of the village of Osceola versus the town of Farmington, there were some personality conflicts that made a bill happen that didn't need to happen, in my opinion. But bygones are bygones, and everything's good to go there. So the other changes to the traffic plan were all included in the attachments. So if there's any questions about any of the Wheels and Wings stuff, I'm happy to answer those for you tonight as well. But we're good to go. We're excited about the event, and things are happening. So the planes will fly and the cars will run. So, any questions? All right, thank you all.
Thank you. So it begins. Wouldn't be a board meeting if it wasn't pouring.
Exactly.
Hi, my name is Karen Langer, and I live at 381 10th Avenue
I can't.
in Osceola. And I'm a member of the United Methodist Church in Osceola, and I have been since I moved out here in 1985. My husband and I were married in that church, and that church is very special to us. And I got a email from someone stating that in the last meeting that you guys had, the planning meeting, that somebody made a snide crack about the Methodist Church and the people that belong to the Methodist Church, that they are not, how can I put it, not aware enough to be able to go down a one-way street. If the one-way street was put in front of the church, that we don't have the sense enough to know how to navigate a one-way street. And it came from this board, and I don't know who it is, and I'm sure nobody's going to fess up to it, but I think it's very degrading that somebody has to make a comment to that effect concerning the Osceola Methodist Church. We are a community church. We do a lot of community activities. We participate in the community a lot. You know, we've been here since 1854, so we are the founding church of this community. So I just feel that just because you think that we're not this big, booming, huge, wonderful church, that we don't do anything, or that we're not capable of doing anything. But we do have valid complaints and valid issues as far as this new building going up across the street. And I don't think we're not being that unfair, that we just want to make sure that our church is safe, that there is no damage to the church when all of this construction starts. We also have a parsonage that's on River Street. And so we're concerned about the speeding down this road, this one-way road. And let me tell you, I know speeding because they speed down 10th Avenue all the time, and they don't even hit the stoplight, or not the stoplight, the stop sign. They just go right on through. Our mailbox been wiped out 3 times. And so, and we're in the school, we're right by the schools. So I'm just really concerned about what's going on. I really don't have an issue with you building this property, as long as it's safe, as long as it's within standards that it's supposed to be, or as long as it is a functioning, that everybody can function in this community together. So that's my concern. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Does anyone else wish to address the board?
I do. I'm Frances Kerber, and I live at 108 Creekview.
Hi, Francis.
And I am a newcomer. I've been here about 30 years, and I understand what it means when people have been here a long time. I've also been a Methodist for a very long time, as per my parents, and as some of you all have been. So we're a fluxing congregation. And the point of my bringing the picture of the bluff and what it has looked at originally, it's nice for people to have that perspective. And of course, it's been built for a long time, and that has worked fairly well. And we have worked with the traffic up and down the street, with the hospital and with whatever else has been going on there. And that's always been a good relationship. At this point, we seem to be having, following the meeting the other night, and some of the plans and some of the considerations, I feel that you have left us out of any planning. I've been on the trustees for a long time. I'm not there now, but over the last 20 years, when I asked to have the street striped on First Street, like it always had been, so people could head in, you didn't do it. And there are no stripes and no parking made cut there in 20 years. You've left us out. And then you took out the street light while we're having so much chaos across the street. No street light, and yet you know there is a congregation of people that are there at night. Oh, and recently, the potential building owners of potential building sent, and there may be twice, people to do a survey of building use, and I have been there when they have come by to do the survey at noon on Wednesday. Nobody sends one on Sunday. Nobody sends one for our events. Nobody sent one when we have last Wednesday meal, which is, we have the only community kitchen. Yes, we built this one here as a community. And I understand that because the group used to meet at the Methodist Church because there was no other place. But in the meantime, the entire community comes, all the churches participate one at a time. And any given last Wednesday of the month, please come and you will see who is there. It's not just 4 or 5 people, and certainly not a bunch of little haggity old ladies, of which I am the curly-headed old lady. I already know what the attitude is, so I always had that one too. I think that you have not taken us seriously. I think no one, in fact, I know none of you have said anything to us or asked us. Previous potential owners have come to us, have asked us what our programs are and wanted to participate, wanted to know us. And at no time have you come to talk to us, and I've invited you. I've invited all of you others. I've invited you again. What we're doing tomorrow night is something we didn't suddenly cook up. We've been doing this for years. You know that. And when you see who it is that's playing, you know that we are not an isolated community, and no, they're not Methodists. This is a community church. And isn't it wonderful? Although the Baptists were here as well as we were originally, isn't it wonderful, the churches we have now? We are the seed. Do not erase us for parking lot for a restaurant in a little hole of the city. Pay attention to something bigger. Think bigger. I appreciate people that want to come in and be a part of this community. I was one of those strange businesses that came in from out of town. So I appreciate you. It went well for us. And I thank you. But we're real, and don't ignore us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jane Wilson Walker, River
Hi, Jane.
Street, 511, and I'm kind of echoing what the previous 2 ladies have said. We are a part of the community, and we do want to be included in decisions or part of them. I also would ask that as the president of the board, that you please be sure that what's happening at that property, all ordinances are followed, and anything that is not being followed is handled in a precise and quick manner, unlike what's happening now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good evening, Maria Meyer, 104 Prairie Grass Drive.
Hi,
I
Maria.
have a couple orders of business. One in regards to Wheels and Wings with the traffic control would be maybe more directed to that gentleman. In regards to our no outlet road, everybody seems to think, oh, I can go out that way. I'm just going to sneak through the neighborhood. We get a literal parade of vehicles the entire day long because it is a no outlet road. Wondering if they can just put some cones in front of the road for the day so our local residents can still go to and from our homes conveniently, or maybe a fence or whatever. But that would really help us out as our no outlet development of Creekview. So, and the other order of business is the Methodist Church and the road debacle. And I was also informed of a very unprofessional meeting last week where the church members were basically disregarded and laughed at. And they are a huge part of the community. I personally attend many community events there to support them and enjoy them. And I feel that they are being completely left out on decisions that do affect them. And another thing is, if they're gonna put in to change the streets, what are you gonna do for fire control, emergencies? How are those vehicles going to be able to access that? And also the businesses that may go in there. If people have to park and walk to the lower level of whatever business is there, they are not going to be successful at all. So, and also in regards to the changing of the development off the 65th or 68th, to change the current building to put in a high density housing there, how is the community going to support that? Your water, your sewer, then you're talking another expense. You can only add so many residents without having and improving the infrastructure that's already there. And also bringing in viable businesses that our community can support. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to address the board? Okay, thank everybody for their comments, and we will move to the next item on our agenda, which is item 7, staff reports, 7A1 library.
Good evening, everyone.
Diane?
So in mid-June, I virtually attended the Moore Executive Committee's budget hearing. This meeting is where new services and changes to current services for the Library Consortium are discussed, and the Executive Committee then makes a recommendation to the Directors Council on the Moore budget. And then we will be voting on that at July's Moore Directors Council meeting. And like everyone else and everything else in our current economic environment, we are looking at an increase in costs for the services Moore provides our libraries next year. In June, we circulated 4,082 items. We had 147 computer uses, 1,453 ebooks were checked out, and we had 30 new patrons. We added 168 new items to our shelves in June, and I have started adding knitting needles and crochet hooks to our Library of Things collection. We have a few other items in this collection, such as rubber stamps and portable CD players. And often these are items that might only be occasionally used by a patron, such as the portable CD player, or they might be something like the needles and hooks that I'm adding that require a certain size or might be used to try an activity or craft before purchasing their own materials. I also had a virtual meeting with representatives from T-Mobile about Wi-Fi hotspots. I've had a few people inquire if we have hotspots for checkout, because several libraries in our system do have them available for patrons. And they often use them at their home or cabin or camper or other places like that. So I am checking into the costs and viability of providing hotspots for checkout at our library. June is always a big programming month at the library with the kickoff of the summer learning program. We started the month by hosting the Osceola fourth graders for a tour of the library and an introduction into the summer learning program. And then this year's kickoff event was held on June 7th and included registration for the reading portion of the program, along with the wildlife show from Sustainable Safari. We are holding weekly summer learning program events every Thursday at 4 p.m. and have hosted Science Heroes, held a Decorate a Kite event, and in conjunction with the Art Barn play Peter Rabbit, hosted cast members of the play and then decorated rabbit cupcakes. We held a YA event with Marcia Dressel teaching tips and techniques for watercolor painting. And then Lego Club, Chess Club, Lunch with the Librarian, Tech Help, and Read to Breezy were regular events that we continued to offer in June. We also partnered with the Family Resource Center St. Croix Valley for an infant massage class, with the library providing information and resources on the importance of early childhood literacy. We also held a viewing of the final Melinda Myers gardening webinar on the topic of gardening for hummingbirds. The book bike is out of storage, but due to rain, I've only made one trip with the bike in June, and that was to Millside Apartments. But I also visited Evergreen Senior Living and Christian Community Home to provide material checkouts for residents. And then on Friday, June 20th, during a hot spell, the AC system developed a clogged condensate drain line, and water began leaking through the ceiling tiles in the hallway over the sci-fi fantasy books. Fortunately, I was there working at the front desk and noticed the issue quickly, so we were able to move books off the shelves of the affected area. And thank goodness Todd was around, so he was able to respond quickly and turn the unit off, which stopped the flow of water. While no one was able to come in on Friday night to fix the issue, they were here Monday morning and quickly restored our AC. And luckily, we only had to discard one water damaged book from this incident. So that was a positive. So there's lots of events coming up. And on Thursday, we are actually having Carpenter Nature Center here, and they are going to be bringing raptors. So if you know anyone interested, please send them our way on Thursday at 4. Any questions?
No, thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Sam.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, fire.
Hi, everyone.
That's all.
Average runs, an average month, they said for us, 12 runs total, 7 in the village of Osceola, 3 in the town of Farmington, 1 mutual aid with Sasago County, and 1 mutual aid with Allied Garfield. Run breakdown was 5 medical lift assists, 1 search, 3 traffic crashes, and 3 alarms. Training for June consisted of ladder truck and we went around and did scenarios in Osceola. Upcoming training is with 970. We're going to be practicing doing CPR runs so that we're more acquainted with the ambulance and where everything is on it. And we're going to be doing riverboat training also. So, and make sure that you know that we'll be having the engine up again and it'll be loud. Just letting you know.
I'm really happy about
Any
that.
questions?
Yeah, you had mentioned that you did ladder truck and tender operation training. So how high can a ladder truck go?
65 feet.
65 feet. So in terms of a number of stories in a building, how high is that?
It'll go well over 3 stories.
Okay.
So, yeah, so we can reach every building, go up on the roof on any building here in Osceola.
Great.
That was when we built it and bought it and built it. We went from 55 feet to 65 feet because we had buildings here that, well, this one included, that we needed to be able to get up on the roof for fires.
Great. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Paul.
Okay, next up, police.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, AJ.
All right. So last month, June, we generated 357 calls for service, compiled 64 incident and traffic crash reports. Our officers made 2 arrests and 2 criminal referrals. We initiated 33 traffic stops and issued 39 municipal citations. Our police administrative assistant processed 11 records for requests for records and background checks. Some of the incidents we responded to included several assist other agency calls. We had an OWI first offense, a few different ordinance complaints, mental health call, and a couple domestic abuse related calls as well. The more notable events were we executed a search warrant in rural Balsam Lake. This was following an investigation of a complaint that took place in May. We did an investigation, we identified a suspect, and we applied for a search warrant. Went out to the property. We did locate several stolen items that were associated with the call as well. So we recovered those, returned those to the reporting party, and we referred criminal charges for the suspect. Polk County Sheriff's Office assisted us with that. And all in all, it was a pretty slick deal where we wrapped everything up quite well. So on that note, we've been closing on a lot of minor cases or lower level crimes. We identified a suspect in 2 separate retail theft incidents at a local business. We identified a suspect from a theft from an automobile, and were able to interview them and refer charges on them as well. Administratively, it was in Polk County Health Department. They completed their tobacco compliance checks for the area, and there were not any violations from any of our local businesses in the village. Officer Tremblay participated in adolescent mental health training locally in Barron County, put on by the National Association of School Resource Officers. It's one of the trainings that was available. I thought was applicable to his upcoming position. Our administrative assistant, Jen Giller, she participated in a convention in Appleton, Wisconsin. That's the LEAP conference, the Law Enforcement Administrative Professionals Conference. What's nice about that is she gets an update on current trends, best practices relating to administrative tasks such as records requests and whatnot. So she picked up a few good tips down there and is already putting those to work. I did nominate her for administrative professional of the year, just due to her years of service and commitment to our department and the community. And unfortunately, she wasn't picked this year, but she appreciated the nomination. Officer Tremblay and I began meeting with the school to discuss details regarding the SRO position. We were shown where his office would be, what equipment we need to procure, and kind of touched on what we're looking at for his day-to-day schedule at the school. So we're looking to meet up again on a monthly basis to continue our talks and better prepare Matt for the school year, which starts the end of next month. So, and then as far as officers in training, Dalton Dodge and McCade Miller, they continue their academy training. McCade reported that he recently completed his phase 2 exam and scored top of his class with a 94%. So he's doing very well.
No, we also have interviews next week.
And we have some interviews next week as well. So that'll be for the vacancy from assigning that to the SRO position. Any questions?
I got 2 for you.
Sure.
There's another car for sale that showed up on village property. It's out at the pump on M, the well station.
Okay.
Been there on and off for a week.
Sure.
I don't know whose it is. It doesn't look like one of our village vehicles. It's a really nice car. The other thing, and I know I shot you a text about it, but now that Simmons is a really nice road, 25 is really hard to drive. And I feel like it's the same story like when we used to drive up M here and it was really hard to go the speed limit up there. The Simmons is 25 most of the way around, I think, until you said it gets to the other side.
Yeah, so Simmon Drive starts at County Road M and then it loops around, goes up to Cage, and I believe about where Excel it cuts off and turns into 250th Street. But then that whole stretch wraps around the airport and turns into 68th Avenue, which I believe is a 35-mile-an-hour zone, but it's 25 throughout until you hit 68th.
I drove and missed one sign when you're coming back from the other direction, from like Federated back to the east.
Yep.
There is, I don't know that there's a sign for quite a ways.
Sure.
I thought it was 35. Now that I'm paying attention, I'm like, holy buckets, it's 25. It's really hard to do.
Yeah.
I'd be hard pressed to believe the buses are coming out of there at 25 too.
Well, and I think most of the bus traffic, just from my observations, it's, usually from the bus garage by the north hangars, and then they usually dump out onto County Road M or something.
Yeah, I'll tell you, that's the worst part. That's the worst spot to try to go at 25
Sure.
because the asphalt's so nice. And it doesn't seem egregiously like you're going too fast. It's literally, it feels natural.
Mike, I'll check the industrial zone covenants too to make sure it wasn't listed in there.
Yeah, it might be something good to look at because it's going to be in a few more years that everybody will be complaining that we're getting too many tickets out there and it seems too slow. So that was it. Thanks.
Any other questions? Thanks, guys.
Thank you. All right, next up, Public Works.
Hello, everybody. Strong June for the department. As you can see from the memo, it's extremely diverse in everything that we were doing. We experienced a tremendous amount of wind, rain, and beyond, but no flooding of roads, no public trees lost, 3 private trees, which we had to follow up on after hours and remove from streets, roadways, or pedestrian access. Outside of that, we're wrapping up our new asphalt projects. We had a good product, had a little bit of concern with during the restoration process, and what was done during the heat. And then on top of that, as soon as that restoration process occurred, we got about 2¼ inches of rain. So we're currently engineers back from vacation. We hit it hard on Monday and getting that punch list followed up on. So we'll be waiting for Albrightson to respond back and start working on that punch list. Asphalt seems to be the the thing here in June. Yeah, we hauled like 24,000 pounds, installed roughly 11,000 more. So we're somewhere just under 30,000 installed manually by hand internally to our roads in regards to potholes and things of that nature. As soon as we wrap up this asphalt and we kind of see where we come in at budget-wise, as we know, we took some of our funding from 25 combined with 26 to make this happen. Whatever's left over remaining, we'll continue and get some maintenance done to our streets, i.e. crack filling, and probably hopefully some micro scrubs, stuff like that to replenish pavement in our northern district. Emerald ash borer, that's another big one. That's been crazy. We've taken down roughly like 25 trees now to date and continue to do more. I'm trying to think of a way when I get one free moment to help notify the public and what they can do and what the responsibility is per our code, urban forestry code. But right now we're sort of drowning in our own 400 urban trees, not to mention 200 acres of public lands and trees that we have to monitor. So right now we're just doing our best to keep costs low and get these things down. So ditch mowing as well. Growth is tremendous with the water of the heat. So several miles of that were completed in June. We're working with multiple entities to try to get things done. We're very thankful for all those people that help reach out and contribute by doing things like the 243 sign and flowers and gardens and things of that nature. I think as I've seen in the article, things like Polaris Industries committed a generous amount of funds to help these dead and dying trees. We're still waiting on our waterfall, and that's been on like back order for like almost 8 weeks now. So we're thanking the Lions Club for that donation, and we're waiting for that to arrive, so we can hopefully get this in here. We're ready to go. As I mentioned, all the rain, winds, the street sweeper was back out again in June. Put a tremendous amount of time in keeping the streets clean and the debris out of our storm system. From parks, yeah, daily maintenance, they've taken a considerable amount of time in parks, trails, public spaces. I think I cut 8 trees from our trails along the bluff from 243 to the south and up the bluff. So they were blocking all access. Mowing, of course, too. It's nonstop. We were happy to get the Veterans Park restored after the water line was installed. So tremendous amount of rocks had to be removed and restoration had to be completed by staff to get that done. Failing gazebo structures. I think the board members reached out to me in regards to some failing structures or something that had failed during an event. So of course it was on the short list as it was. We got it moved up, and as you can see by the pictures, we have fixed things up appropriately. Triangle Park also seen a makeover. We've had numerous entities sort of try and help us with that park over the last decade or more. Unfortunately, they just didn't work maintenance-wise. So those commitments haven't been there for a number of years now. So we went in and made a better space, a maintainable space, and good sightline for everyone up there on 10th Avenue and to the north. Building maintenance. I know we had a hot meeting here. It was Monday. Things are restored. I provided some updates to the village president and got things restored. We blew like 4 lines out of our rooftop unit 2. So between condensers plugging and clogging, they've been here a lot. We try to monitor as much as possible. I think one of the reasons that I didn't get a red flag in regards to the temperature through our system is because the unit itself was saying, hey, I'm pushing 55-degree air. However, it just wasn't coming into the building. So I always appreciate the library and the senior center and beyond for letting me know, because it can't be everyone. It's impossible. Any questions?
I got a couple for you. Sure. Somebody mentioned last night, I was chatting with a resident, there's a sunken storm drain maybe on M going up the hill.
Yes.
I guess it's getting pretty ugly.
It is. We have 7 right now. We're looking forward to working with Eric and providing the addresses and where these are at, and they'll have to go out for bid. I think we'll be looking somewhere in the realm of $30,000 to $40,000 repair these 7 that are in need of immediate attention.
Yeah, it sounded like it was becoming almost to the point of being a traffic problem. He also chimed the same thing you said about trees. It would be wonderful. He knows of some trees in his neighborhood that are infected. He's got some of his own. He's just waiting to try to deal with them.
Yeah.
But it does sound like it's a problem in town. It'd be great to see a newsletter specific on it or something before it gets out of hand and we become a prairie town or something. But I can appreciate all your mowing too. There's a spot between Cottage and Gateway that I saw your staff mowing that's not village property.
Okay.
I don't know if you were able to build the landowner for it.
I'm not entirely sure what that space is, but I'd be happy if we could discuss and identify what space that is. I'll find out.
It's just, I think they were out doing that pump station because that's right in there, isn't it?
On Well Ford? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
No, you're referring to, yeah, I think I
it's
referred
right
to
in that
the
area.
lift station.
So the skid steer and the mower were out in that deck and he went up to, I don't know if he went all the way up to Gateway, but it's that ugly ditch that the sidewalk's a mess through there.
Sure.
It was that general area.
Okay.
I don't think it was a big deal, but I guess if the only reason he went out there was for that piece of it, or with that piece of equipment was to do that, well, then you could save that trip and whatever.
No, we do have several out that way. I'll find out in regards to the right of way.
That was it.
Okay.
Thanks, though.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Not a question, but I just want to highlight that you guys also planted 23 trees, and that's pretty awesome to replace them.
We're doing our best given our budget. I should have mentioned that's one of the things that we won't be able to probably provide the general public with their dead or dying ash trees, whether they be ash trees or infected oak trees. or elm. We just don't have the capacity. But we certainly will help them try and work through identifying and hopefully getting them down, and maybe they can replant something.
On behalf of several community members that reached out to me, that there was a lot of pleased individuals at how quickly the tree in the cemetery that was down on the street was cleaned. I mean, that was, I think within 2 hours, it was gone.
Yeah.
So that was nice.
All this stuff happens at 4 o'clock after.
I know, yeah, at the end of the day. Yeah.
I don't know if it's necessarily the right spot to bring this up, but I remember, are we reviewing the snow removal on out by Geiger? Is that in process?
We've reached out to the county.
Okay,
No definitive answer yet.
okay, perfect.
We'll keep that moving.
Thank you.
Thanks, Todd.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, utilities.
Good evening, everybody.
Rick.
Well, we are cruising on our meter project. HydroCorp has installed over 200 meters out of the 680 that we contracted them to do. We're on day 5. We are cruising. Out of our list of 680, we had a really, really good response. We had like 70% that had responded to their initial letters. We had about 200-ish that Jen actually made phone calls starting last week. She finished them up today. We're moving on to door hangers next. So anybody that we don't have contact info for, like residents that have been here forever, we're going to be hanging notices on their door to get those scheduled out. So far, so good. Really, really smooth process so far. Since it's commissioned our reading equipment, we are super impressed. Now, we only right now have the back end data that the capabilities of that are just great. It's just great to be able to go in there and get a meter read when you need it, not send somebody out to an address to wait for them to download to the, then send that back to the utilities clerk to then be billed out. It's just a super streamlined process. So only to get better from there. So I'm just really the thing we have right now is RNI, and it's like raw data. The census analytics that we're moving to in the next step here is going to be beyond that even. So I'm pretty excited to have access to that. Well, we had covered an additional main valve also at the intersection of Melvin and Seminole Avenue. This is number 10. We do keep a tally that we've sawed up or found under sod. And sometimes it's an old hand-drawn map that shows a valve, and we'll go sweep with a metal detector, and sure enough, there's a valve there. Mainline valves are used to isolate the system in emergency. So if you have to shut off a certain section, so you're not shutting off an entire development, you don't have to. So yeah, that was. It's always nice to find them. As operators, we like lots of valves. We like to be able to shut off just little sections instead of huge sections. The industrial park lift station is back fully operational. I have yet to get a bill for that, so I don't know if we're going to meet the threshold for a claim for storm damage or not. If we do, I think I'll just work with Devin and we'll just work through whatever we need to do. So no action needed from you guys. Other than that, any questions?
I feel like I read it somewhere else, but maybe it was the UV regulator system.
Yeah.
Because I like to geek out on your stuff. Please start budgeting money to replace all those electronics and some of them weird stuff that you've been buying parts off of eBay for.
Yes. That was a standard part. We just had to wait a couple of days to get it. And then wait a couple of days so we can install it. So the operators, they actually just manually did it, which means you pull it out, wash it off, put it back in.
And to one of the constituents' comments is you do have a very robust capacity down there.
Yes.
We have
yes.
There's no concerns about adding a lot of people.
Not at this time.
But I would love to see you update your electronics and stuff, because I think
Yes.
that's our weak point.
Yes, I would agree. Just to touch on that, electronics and equipment down the plant, it has a 20-year life, and we are at that 20-year life at this point. If we can keep it going, we are money ahead. But to Mike's point, sometimes you can't. A lot of those things like PLCs, they go Silver Series and they're obsolete.
Absolutely.
You can't get it anymore. Our radios, for example, for our SCADA system, for the water system, are obsolete twice over now. And so we're looking into getting those updated and replaced, because when it comes down to it, you're counting on these things to run 24/7, no matter what, rain or shine. And if they don't come on, we get to work quick.
So in the day job, I just ran into a situation, and I'm going to say 20 years is too long, 10's too long. Because when you start to get into compatibility between old stuff and new stuff, it just doesn't talk.
I should know, yeah, 20, look, to Mike's point, 20 years is 20 years ago technology. I mean, that was the
It
rule of thumb
exponentially
20
changed,
20 years ago. And technology moves so fast
Right.
now that, like you said, 10 years might be too long. Any other questions?
Where are you at with the water main up to the tower?
Up to the, where are we at with that? Or, sorry, I don't want to put you on the spot, but we were deciding on, we have a plan.
Yep. So, we resubmitted to the DNR end of June, and, we've updated a plan. I actually had an alternate in there and kind of fine tuning it, and we'll get a biddable set here in the coming months.
Bring it forward in August at the committee meeting, and discuss it there. I think some of the things that are still hanging out there, we would appreciate some committee input on, especially when we're working in Highway 35. I think that was one of the main concerns that we had, you know, and how the village wanted to go about that. Yeah, we added what do you want to call it, an alternate route to that?
Yeah, yep, an alternate, maybe an alternate method.
Alternate
Following
method.
Generally the same route, but hydraulic directional drill, rather than have to mess with a lot of the shoring and other things with the railroad. Just don't have open cut in that area.
Possibly getting us out of the railroad, what do you call it, zone of influence as much as we can, because I think that was one of the main concerns.
So it's one of those scary unknowns if you've never done it before. The traffic map that was included in the Wheels and Wings application, great. Done by a local guy who works for a really great company that does that kind of stuff.
Sign Express? Is that who that was?
Safety Signs.
Safety Signs.
Yeah. The guy lives in East Farmington, to my knowledge. They do that for next to nothing. You know, I wouldn't say next to nothing, but close. That would be great to see as part of this project.
That was one of the things we we're going to bring at the committee level, is how you know, if we could decide what we want to do at the committee level with Highway 35, then we can engineer some form of traffic.
Yeah, I don't want to step on you too much here, but I'd like to get this topic moved to a publicly noticed meeting so that everybody in the public has the opportunity to know that we're going to be talking about it.
I think that's great. I think that's good input there. Any other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, building inspection.
Yeah, there was one new home permit and one big add-on to the OMC, or I should say, it's kind of rehabbing the OMC building. Those are the two big active on the building permit. In your packet too, I kind of did a quick rundown of what's been done year to date compared to years past. So far this year, we've had 6 new homes. There should be more happening here in the near future too. Overall, we'd be looking to be, if we just double it, around $5 million in value, which would be on the light end. We're hoping to see some uptick in development and building this year still. So to meet some of our goals that we have for new revenue for taxes. So hopefully the building continues as we progress through the year. Any questions on the building report or anything that was in the packet on that?
Okay, move on to administration.
Yeah, tonight you'll be hearing from Pinnacle Development and Engineer Russ on the development south of the airport. We have been working with Russ on the utility side of it and the layout. Tonight will be discussion on the plan use development. Tonight you also have C.E. Wurzer's TIDN development agreement. That plans to be a 72 unit development up by Quick Trip. So we've gone through 3 or 4 iterations of those developments back and forth. So there's been a lot of reading and changing of that document. I'm still waiting on the signed purchase agreement from Caleb C. for his 4 fourplexes, 16 units across the street from the Wurzer development. If I don't see a signed development on that soon, I'll be reaching out to C.E. Wurzer for that property, as they have expressed interest to develop that property too.
I'd say give him a month.
Yeah, so that would be the next step, is figuring that out because C.E. Wurzer has expressed interest to combine and go into those 2 lots across the street also.
Yep.
At the Planning Commission last week, there was a commercial building concept plan that would be a 5 unit commercial between the Wild Violet and Osceola Auto Body. So that would be a much needed project for the village, as commercial spaces kind of It's kind of rare in Osceola, so that'd be a much needed project for us to have. I should say open commercial spaces, kind of rare. Working a lot on the Cascade Falls project. Drew, do you have any updates that you want to give tonight?
The board could anticipate we have one at the next board meeting. We're having a monthly progress meeting with the contractor.
Yeah, monthly meeting tomorrow. They have been pouring concrete on site. The footings were poured, correct?
Yep, some of them were forward to get a head start, do a test before we do all within one day type of thing.
And they can't order the stairs until the footings are in place because they need to measure them because the stairs are custom built for the site. So until all the footings are in, they can measure. They can't order the stairs. So he was estimating a 12-week lead time for measuring to completion. So we'll be looking at a November, December timeframe for install of the stairs.
So they're still actually actively working down there?
Yeah, they're installing concrete,
Okay.
concrete, seat wall.
There's a hot minute where they were really busy and then it's been quiet, it seems. I thought they pulled off for a while.
That was intended, that they expected a little slowdown due to some of supplies waiting. We did get our audit completed. We were still looking through the documents to make sure that our numbers match their numbers or any questions are answered. The admin finance can expect CLA to come to that meeting and give the audit results for that. I do have the drafts in my office if anyone's interested in looking at them too. So stop on by if you want to look at the audits. We are continuing working with GON and their site and the old hospital site. On here is my timeline of what's transpired in the last 2 months. As you can see, there's been numerous times I've reached out to developer regarding the safety fence for that site. I gave them a time frame to do something by. There was no progress made by the 30th, so I moved ahead and issued a raise order for the building, which would require them to tear it down. With that being said, Dan and I did discuss today and talked that he plans to have a safety fence up by September 1st on the site, and then they signed a contract with a demo company this week. I can't remember the name of the company off the top of my head, and they plan to start November 1 for the demo. So, but that's the update I have. I'll take any questions or comments you have on that.
I want to go back and a couple of other items. Are we still selling alleys? We're trying to get rid of them in town.
We took a backseat in that project as I've had just not enough time to do that one. But the plan would be to get rid of any alleys that are not connected to a street.
Property locked.
So any property locked alleys, I'd have to go through the map and find a list of them. That is something I do want to get rid of as we have no need for those properties because frankly, I mean, they're landlocked, they're not serving a purpose for the village. So I do need to go through and find a list of the landlocked alleys that are no longer serving a purpose.
Had somebody actually asked me about that and where they were at because they have one behind their properties. So a slight little correction, that property on M, the new commercial development, I don't know if I call it a major concern, but the intersection I brought up was pretty bad considering there's another 17 acres behind it for development in the future. Just the way that it enters reminds me of the Walmart entry and the building that Verizon's in. I don't think the design is a good idea. Not super good right now, just a correction to the
and board, just
meeting
for that was a concept plan that was before the planning commission.
Yep, just a clarification to the note. And then the elephant in the room, I have zero trust in the fact that GON is going to move at any reasonable speed. We have ordinances in place that can solve that problem right now. A correction to what I said in the email was not about abatement. It's to meet the ordinance 16010B. That isn't necessarily, and I guess depending on the definition of abatement, we can bring the property up to meeting the ordinance by cleaning it up, getting rid of the vandalism, putting boards on the window. I don't know that it needs a fence, but I think we need to send a message that we're not interested in waiting another till September or November. They've had enough time. So I think that's all I had.
They do have 10 days from date of letter to remedy the issues. And so
I don't believe 16010B has a duration.
there's 10 days to comply once the letter is received, to bring it into compliance.
That ordinance doesn't, it allows immediate action.
I'm aware of the ordinance.
Okay,
I've had lots of letters over the years and followed it.
am I incorrect? I think because you had looked at it, right?
Which one?
16010B.
That does not involve my power to do that one.
I know it's a Brad power, but I don't believe there's a duration on that.
For the nuisance properties and compliance.
If it-
60, I'm trying to remember the sub,
I-
maybe Chief Bach knows, but
I'll pull it up here quick.
Any order?
Bach, you have something to say?
Did you want me to?
If
Please.
I think of a different ordinance, I believe there's 10 days once the letter is written to take action.
Yeah, generally when we give notice, I believe here we gave in the letter that we had sent out, we gave a deadline. Typically, if there's notable progress made within an initial deadline of 10 days, we'll usually extend that out to accommodate for potentially the property to be brought up to code. And then from there, we can either start issuing citations. Technically, every day that the property is in violation is a separate offense. Otherwise, we could go to abatement. If the property itself is a hazard, we can go to immediate abatement with it as well.
Okay, so I'll read it. It says summary abatement. If the inspecting officer determines that a public nuisance exists within the village and that there is great and immediate danger to the public health, safety, peace, morals, or decency, the president may direct the proper officer to cause the same to be abated at the charge thereof to the owner, occupant, or person causing, permitting, or maintaining a nuisance.
Correct.
You might be quoting a different subsection order 160.
So 10C goes on to say that, but I feel like that stands alone.
It's all interpretation.
Yeah, yep. And honestly, I think there's been enough notices that I feel like we've met the 10 days probably 1,000 times over.
And I do know that I did reach out today and discuss the possibility of moving up the demo. However, the companies they've reached out to, that is as soon as they can get on site for the demo.
Just to reiterate, being in this industry in construction, there's plenty of times where abatement contractors, it's one of the lowest quality trades out there. They're notorious for not meeting schedules. I have zero faith in this happening, and we have avenues here to make this go a lot faster. And I feel
Mike, I'm going to shut this conversation down immediately and tell you that the village president retains the authority to invoke this particular statute, okay? I do not believe that it meets this statute.
I think
We're done with this
we're
conversation.
delinquent in our duties here.
Okay, that topic is done.
I'll talk as much as
Does
I want.
anybody else have any questions regarding Devin's report?
Thanks, AJ.
Okay, next up on the agenda is 7B, Chamber of Commerce, Main Street.
Why it's not. No report.
No report for them? Okay. So after that, we move to a public hearing portion, which regards some rezoning.
Yeah, let's do the, before we go into the public hearing, let's do the introductory part of it.
Right.
So the public has an opportunity to listen.
Yes.
Before they can ask questions. Tonight, Russ Kivanimi from Cedar Corp is here on behalf of Pinnacle Development to discuss a rezone of the newly annexed land into a PUD, plan use development zoning district. The planning district is to allow for multiple levels of housing that would not normally happen within an R3 and an R2. This is allowing for side-by-side units, villa style, and single-family units, which would necessitate the plan use development as you are getting various numbers of density within this development. Some of the comments I heard earlier today, just to reiterate, we have done a sewer study on this site. The sewer can meet the capacity of the site, so can water, so the utilities are not an issue for this site to be zoned the PUD. With that being said too, the map within your packet is for illustration purposes only. It's not the final layout. We still have to go through staff review of that. Because if anything would change within the layout or the PUD rules, they would have to redraw the maps anyway. So tonight, you're not approving the maps. The maps are there for illustration purposes to see what the layout will look at. Tonight, I'd be asking for the approval of the rezone of a plan use development with the rules that were set forth within the memo from Cedar Corp. Russ can explain to those and answer any questions that you might have on behalf of that. And this did pass the planning commission by a vote of 4-3? Yeah, passed 4-3.
Good evening. Thanks, Devin. Again, I'm Russ Kivenemy with Cedar Corporation. And we're the engineer. We prepared the exhibits within your packet, which include the rezoning application, preliminary plat, the colored preliminary plat infrastructure improvement plan, and also our memo dated May 2nd, 2025, that outlines the reason for the PUD and the preliminary plat. As Devin mentioned, the preliminary plat and colored plan are supporting documents that provide you information regarding the PUD items that the developer, Pinnacle Land Development, is asking for this subdivision. Again, the applicant is Plainview Estates LLC. They are the property owner that will be selling the property to Pinnacle Land Development if the rezoning is approved. First one I just mentioned real quick. We reviewed city staff comments and memo dated May 29th, 2025. We don't have any issues with any of those review comments. We're in agreement. And as the project moves forward to our final plat and final engineering drawings, we'll address all those comments by village staff, plan commission, and board as we move through the next step. So real quick, before I go into the memo, our memo May 2nd, 2025, which outlines the PUD items we're requesting. Again, the preliminary plat document shows the layout of the streets, the street names, the lot lists, the lot sizes, the lot areas, and then the colored concept plan further defines the preliminary plat, different housing uses proposed. The yellow color are proposed as smaller single-family lots. The orange color are, we call the duplex twin homes. They're lot line lots. And the brown color are the smaller, narrower villa home lots. So again, that's why developers requesting the PUD. Different types of land uses, different sizes than what your ordinance requires. The rezoning, the property is 52 acres. And on the north side of the development, you'll see an outlot 3 in green. That's not part of the development. That was removed after we went through the concept plan process with the planning commission and the village board and found out there was a airport overlay zoning district. So we got that survey information, we put that on our project and took that portion of the development out. Because with that airport overlay zone in that outlot 3, it only allows 1 unit per 10 acres. So developer had to remove that from the project. And it's about just under 6.5 acres is that outlot 3. So then quick summary moving through our memo. Again, the project is bounded on the east by 65th Avenue, on the north by 68th Avenue, and then on the west by 258th Street. To the south is undeveloped land within the town of Farmington. The village board annexed this property back in May. So that step has been done. So that's why we're moving to the next step, which would be the rezoning. Rezoning is proposed as R2, two-family, with a conditional use permit overlay of the PUD zoning. So as we go through our memo on page 1, we talk about the setbacks, what they're currently are in the R2, and what we're proposing as part of the PUD. Proposed minimum side yard is 0 feet for the twin homes. Again, you want to be able to sell each side of the twin home, so you put a lot line down the middle. So that's the reason for asking 0 feet for the twin homes. The party wall between the building, and then 5 feet on other side yard areas. Corner lots, the applicants request to provide only one minimum street setback of 30 feet. And your code says if you're in a corner lot, you have a 30-foot setback on both sides of the street. So they're requesting 30 feet on the front and 5 on the side. Lot size and width, R2 is a minimum of 12,000 square feet. Again, half of the twin home lot, the smallest lot, with one side of the twin home is about 4,130 square feet. Other lots, there's a lot of other lots less than 12,000 square feet of the minimum in the R2. Minimum lot width is 90 feet in code. There's 2 lots that meet that requirement. Other than that, the lots are a narrow width. And I'll go through those.
Russ, it's 75 now, just last month.
Oh, okay.
We did change that.
So it's been changed. Good to hear. Thanks, Bill. And then moving on to page 2 of our memo. Again, the main purpose of the PUD is allow for a reduction to the minimum lot size, minimum lot width, per the preliminary plat you have in front of you. The first table on the top of page 2, that gives you a breakdown of the lot sizes and widths and so forth. That's on that preliminary plan. Again, the first item, the single family detached, that's the yellow color on the map. There's proposed 63 lots. Those includes lots 53 through 58, lots 77 through 133. Actual lot width ranges from 60 feet to 100 feet. Proposed minimum lot width for the yellow single family is 60 feet. Minimum lot area, lot 91 is 7,842 square feet. The twin homes, again, the orange color on the preliminary plat is 36 twin homes, 0 lot line units. And those are lots 9 through 26 and 59 through 76. Actual lot width range is 43 feet with a minimum of 40 feet. So 40 and 40, that's an 80-foot lot, wide lot for a twin home if you add both sides together. And as mentioned before, the smallest lot in the twin home section is lot 60, 4,130 square feet. Going to the last color on the color concept plan, the brown color, those are the villa home residential detached. Proposed 34 lots, lots 1 through 8, lots 27 through 52. And the actual lot width proposed on the preliminary plat is 57 to 108. Proposed minimum lot width in the villa homes is 55. And lot 3 is the smallest, minimum area of 5,695 square feet. So total within the 52-acre subdivision is 133 lots. And then we have 3 outlots again. The north area, the airport overlay lot, and then we have 2 outlots proposed for wetland, our existing wetlands and stormwater management systems. The next table on the bottom of page 2, that gives you an acreage breakdown of density and average lot size. Again, you have all the different residential uses proposed again. Number of lots, the acreage, the percentage, the density, dwelling units per acre, average lot size in acres. We have the outlots, road right away, acreage and percentages. So within development, if you look at the bottom of the table, about 3.45 dwelling units per acre. When you compute it, the average lot size is 0.29 acres, which that's pretty common to be within that quarter to a third of an acre. So when you look at it that way, public dedication, all the streets and utilities, right of ways will be completed and built and paid for by the developer. It will be dedicated to the public, which will be the village of Osceola. Once they accept the project, streets and utilities will be owned and operated by the village. Same thing with stormwater management or any parkland that the village may require.
Yeah, we in this one, the development agreement will state that we require payment in lieu of park space, as we already have a lot of parkland and we need more money to maintain and build what we have.
And that makes sense to us. We're in agreement with doing it that way. And then we have just completing our memo, consistency with the Village of Osceola Comprehensive Plan of 2045. We went through that plan and we listed the bullet points. Staff also reiterated some of the bullet points of this project's in conformance with your comprehensive plan. We do show a phase 1 project along Alexander Street, lots 37 through 52, with a construction completion probably next summer. Other phases will be completed 2027 to 2030, depending on lot and home sales. So with that, that's all I have. I'll open it up to any questions.
Now I would recommend we open up the public hearing and then go questions afterwards.
Is there board action required to open public?
I
hearing?
I like to have a board action open the public hearing.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved. I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion by Mike and a second by Van to open the public hearing on this. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Floor is open. Anybody wishes to comment on this project or this rezoning? Now's the time.
And then have them sign the sheet up there. For anybody.
Yeah, if you approach the podium to speak, make sure that you sign the sheet that's up there with your name. Devin, is this considered a two-way dialogue or is it single?
Single preferably, and answer the questions afterwards.
Right.
John Gorman, 664 258th Street. The only one inspected by this development. Two other people live south. I moved here 5 years ago. Spent a lot of money on a house to live in the country, not to have neighbors. Now what? I'm gonna have a whole bunch, so I don't think, So I just wanted to let you know, I'm the one inspected by this. Another built to the south, but one's a rental house. Just to let you know. My house will be for sale if they would like to buy it. Thank you.
Thank you. Board members can also participate in this too.
I would prefer to, after the closed public hearing, then the board has the opportunity to talk
Okay.
with the developer.
Good evening, Maria Meyer, 104 Prairie Grass Drive again. just would like to voice our concern on this development. I guess we can't stop it. However, I feel that making the lots incredibly small, trying to make a high-density housing in the village of Osceola just is not the right thing to do. We cannot support the people with the commercial that we have, the businesses that we have now cannot make it. Fine, build a development within the already the ordinances and the lot lines and, you know, your 65 feet instead of trying to make high density housing. We have that in Gateway. There is no rhyme or reason whatsoever and no conformity there to any of the city's ordinances or building codes, and it looks ridiculous. Let's spread out, guys. Let's make decent developments or keep it the farmland so we can continue to eat. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Dennis Gap, and I live at 628 258th Street. I'm right on the corner. I'm happy to see that the road's not going through my yard. It does just seem weird to have what is something you'd expect to see in Egan or Burnsville, where land is premium and there isn't a lot, to go out into this spacious country and put what feels like a trailer park in there. It just feels weird to have that much density. I mean, I understand that there's development, people need housing, city needs a tax base. That just seems like the wrong area to have quarter-acre lots. Like a street like this where the houses are there, it just kind of fits the feel of it. And it's just to be out of the town and then just have a sub-town just doesn't seem like it fits right. That place seems like it's suited better for 2-acre lots or 5-acre lots or 10-acre lots. And I don't know the math of how that works with the tax base or what the demand is, but it seems to me that as you get further out and there's less jobs and people that work in the city commute further and further, that they're trying to get further away from the city and willing to do that commute or retire because they want to be out in the country. So I kind of second the last two people that spoke. And
thank you.
Steve Kennedy, Osceola, hangar owner at the airport. I've spoken before relative to the airport overlay zoning and so on, because it's a zoning that tries to protect or avoid conflict. There's always conflict with housing adjacent to an airport. Dense housing just invites more conflict. But that aside, this is a public hearing tonight for a development where I understand Russ's presentation. You've made it a number of times before. I understand the development, the goals there. What's a little bit fuzzy is who really is the developer. This is a public hearing for the landowner. It's not quite clear who he's selling it to or how much or what the timeline is. And we've got a public hearing here without any public information on the planning, timeline, and cost to support this development.
There's got to be lots of infrastructure that goes with it. Obviously, they've been discussing with the village administration, different planning, but there's no public information on what the costs will be to support this development. So how can the public add anything to it? It's just a sales pitch from the developer with nothing on the other side of it. Eventually, the taxpayers will have to fund the infrastructure to help support this. Eventually, the village will have to provide sewer and water to this development. And the only commitment from the developer is that 16 villas may be built by the end of next year, and sometime over the next 4 years, if pending locked-in home sales, they might develop the rest. So what commitment are you getting out of the developer? What bonds are you getting? What, you know, you believe there's going to be 133 homes there just flooding property taxes into the village to help the finances of the village, but it hasn't even been discussed. It's not even anything in the public realm. You're doing all of this at best for maybe 16 villas. And what is a villa home? But you'll do this approval, you'll go to the next step, and then when you try to backpedal, when you don't get that information, when you can't get the developer to do what they tend to say they're going to do, all the grand things, where are you going to be? You have no recourse because you didn't do the steps that should be done and should be publicly put out there and discussed before you approve the development, before you approve the substandard housing, spacing, and everything else that goes along with it. I say don't go for the slick sales presentation. Make the rest of it publicly known, and if it makes sense, then take the next step. It's not time to approve this. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, do we have anybody else that wishes to participate with public hearing? All right, so do we need board action then to close it?
Board action, close.
Okay,
Will we close it?
thank you.
I'll second.
Thanks, Nicole. So we have a motion by Mike and a second by Nicole to close public hearing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no. All right, motion carries. So public hearing's closed. So now we have the opportunity to provide our own
Yes,
feedback.
remember, this
on
is the discussion
issues
tonight
raised.
on the rezone to PUD. Yes, there's ongoing discussions with the staff regarding infrastructure. However, we're not even entered into a development agreement yet.
Okay.
Those steps would happen next after we are allowed to go forward with the developments, because if the PUD does not get approved tonight, this development would go away. So until the PUD is formally recognized as a zoning, then we go forward with creating the development agreement of who's paying for what and the amounts that we're paying for. Those numbers have not been finalized or really even gone down, or we haven't even designed what the sewer would look like yet. So we don't even have cost estimates on that yet. We have really high level numbers, and we do expect the developer to pay for some of that line too as we go. Because the sewer line and water line would service other parcels, including village owned parcels within that area.
Is this part of a TIF or going to be part of a TIF?
No, this land will not be in a TID district. However, it would be adjacent to a TID district. So any infrastructure we do within it would be eligible for TID expenditures, because the water and sewer line would actually be in TID number 4. So we could use TID $4 to do the infrastructure on the city portion cost of it. So that would be that would be from the TID increased value from that parcel, not from the taxpayers.
So talk about what that actually means in terms of taxpayer dollars then, if we use TID monies to fund that infrastructure.
TID dollars are, so anyone within TID 4, when we created that district in 2024, their land value was locked in at that price. And as land value increases through the 20-year life of the TID, we capture the excess value as a city to do projects within the TID district. So one of it then would be doing the water and sewer project within this district, or helping with the water and sewer portion.
Or within a half a mile of it,
Yeah,
yeah.
so that's realized increment that we're getting 100% of, not the school, not the county. The village is receiving the majority of it to do projects within the TID district.
There's funds that'll help.
Yes.
Yeah. I kind of want to paraphrase a few things that were brought up in the planning commission meeting about this. There are a couple of demographics that really would appreciate some smaller lots. Older people don't like yards anymore. I might be one of them, and I'm not even that old yet. There's also a problem with the availability of affordable housing for younger people.
Yeah, can I give a stat for that?
Yeah.
Right now, it's over $1,000 a linear foot to develop a lot. So if you develop a 90-foot wide lot, you're looking at 90,000 plus just to develop a lot with street, water, and sewer in it. So this allows lots to be cheaper within the development.
Yeah, there's pros and cons. A couple of the cons, I can't speak to the one Kim had because I know he was definitely concerned about roadways.
Yeah.
The one I really didn't like, there's only one outlet here, and I know there was hypotheticals for future. There's one exit out of the northeast corner. I'm not opposed to a development. I'm not even necessarily opposed to, like I live in a twin home, I'll call it. They can be fit nicely into almost any neighborhood nowadays. However, this outlot, or the traffic flow out of this one is just horrendous.
Yeah, I do want to keep in mind, we're not approving the plat tonight, so
Yeah.
that would not be approved.
I do remember Russ making a comment though about this quantity and mix of properties was critical to the price point. I remember making the comment that I really don't care what the price point is. Maybe the price point's wrong. I'm more concerned about the design. So sure, I'm not approving this plan, but if the plan is contingent on the design, it seems chicken and egg. All for putting the roads out throughout Lot 3 and the other village property. I lived across the street from an airport quite a few times in my life. They work fine together. I argue that point all day long. And I would think we could just find a way to connect into 258th right away. I know it's not the most ideal for folks in the area.
On the west.
Yeah. I mean, there's ways to make this work and I think make everybody happy, but this doesn't do it.
I mean, in terms of the PUD, really if there's an application for a PUD that gets approved, this is what locks in the size, the type, the number of the lots that would be included.
It's locking in your width, your length that they're putting in there, not
For the different styles.
Yes.
Yeah. And I mean, as I read it, I mean, I don't know if you could maybe scroll to the color map that's in the presentation. Yeah, that one. So if you could zoom in a little bit on the northeast corner, it looks like, based on the narrative that was provided, we're just looking at those brown lots. 37 through 52 are going to be the first 34 lots that are created, or however many number of lots that is. I don't know how many it is, but that corner there is the first one that's going to get built by the end of next year. Is that right?
There's 52 in the brown.
Is there? Okay.
Phase one along Alexander Street, lots 37 through 52.
Yeah, 37 through, so it's just that first street.
Completion by July 2026 would be the intent.
I thought they were consecutive. They're not. It's 30 lots or something.
Yeah.
Approximately.
And if this runs similar to the timeline, I mean, there's nothing that we can compare it to. Like, I mean, we had an issue with a huge downturn in the housing market in 2008 that basically stalled out Pheasant Run. I mean, that was just not.
And I will say one thing different too, is we're making sure that all the streets are proper widths. We don't want
The skinny streets, yeah.
streets.
Yeah, that was tough.
The one comment I remember is if there was a house fire on lot 49, no one would leave that development.
Yeah, because it's on the corner on the way out.
Or an accident or anything. You've got, that's it for a horde of reasons. One in and out is terrible.
That's been discussed with Russ since day one.
Yeah, and that'll be a design change most likely. I would expect that.
Yeah, well, and I reiterate it though, because Russ said this mix of properties is key to making it happen. If this is the mix and this is the Jenga that makes it work, I can't agree to it.
we need more.
We still have to approve the plat and layout.
So if we approve the PUD tonight, but they come back with a plat layout that for these valid reasons is unacceptable, we deny the plat layout.
Well, I
Like
would,
that would be the step.
I would hope I wouldn't give it to the board in the state.
No, I
in the-
agree,
in
but
the
I'm
state that
just
you would deny
running,
it.
I'm running the issue to ground,
Yeah.
that if it came to us and we are uncomfortable with the layout, we'll deny it at that point and send it back to the drawing board.
Yeah, tonight you're approving the zoning of the PUD.
Yeah.
If this is what we want to do, why don't just change our whole village code to this PUD for everywhere? Right? I mean, if we want to have lots, someone mentioned, the development, why am I blanking on it? Out off the
Gateway.
Gateway before. These are going to be half the size of Gateway. I mean, I don't know if you picture that, but there are a lot of good points made in the podium here. Let's just change our village code that anybody can have these lot sizes anywhere.
And we talked about that actually at planning commission. and
Right. That's the dumbest thing you could ever
We,
do.
if we move it down to that to match what this thing is trying to do. Because,
Yeah.
well, the whole point of a planned use development is to operate outside of what the typical.
I
village
know,
code
and
is, but-
I get that we want
But
development.
if we were to do what you're suggesting, there would be no additional homes except for what, maybe 2 properties in the village, just because of.
That's
it
what I'm
won't
saying,
fit.
and I,
So-
A planned use development is created because you have multi-layers of lot sizes.
Yeah.
That's
Oh, and
right.
I agree, and I agree that we need housing and stuff, but we already annexed the lot. And I'm okay with giving some concessions, but not for a builder to say this is how we do it or nothing. Right? There'll be other builders that can come in and buy this land that we just annexed and put in developments more conducive to what we want in our community. These are just way too small and way too condensed. It's all about the dollar only, and it's not a good fit for, I don't think, for our community.
Well, and I will also illustrate though that we do have a realtor that sits on the planning commission who is extremely in favor of something like this coming in because they can't seem to sell houses to young professionals, to retiring adults that need or want something like this. So there's both ends of the
You
spectrum.
have to have
there.
houses on the market to
Yeah.
sell. I get
Right.
that. And we need
Right.
people for tax base, but there's a happy medium there somewhere, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
why not just put this development everywhere? What's this gonna do to people who live in the other communities when we buy land? And pretty soon people who have these $300,000-$400,000 houses now have 30 by 40 lots next to them with small houses all around them. You know what I mean? They had an investment, they had an expectation
Right.
based on our code that these are the lot sizes.
Right.
It's not something I'm in favor for, not this pact.
I think that I hear that point, and I know at the last meeting when we talked about shrinking lot sizes, I asked like, why don't we go smaller? And the reason I said that is because of Devin's point about the economics of building houses. And, you know, I am sensitive to the comment, I don't remember who did it, I'm sorry, but talking about, you know, when you're out in townships and you've got acre minimum lots or like 5-acre minimum lots or whatever. And that has its place, and there are people who are interested in that. Those homes are also very expensive. And I think that the nature, like where this is, its proximity to other things, and the fact that it is an attempt to try and address that affordability issue, I think are points in its favor. And I live in Gateway. I mean, the house that Quinn and I were able to buy was a function of a failed development because it got caught up in 08. It was vacant for a long time, but it was a house that when we went to buy it, it was we could afford it. And part of the reason was because it's on a smaller lot. And I think that there's always this tension, I think, when you're looking at trying to bring housing into a community. I just think this is the way that that's accomplished these days. And it's not the developer's fault. It's not the board's fault. It's the market's fault, and it's pricing's fault that this is what you have to do. And I think to the extent as well that the concerns about if the developer leaves or if, you know, this first set is built, but the other set's not, I would envision it the same way I look at Gateway, which is the village has now been put in a position to have developable land in its borders, and we don't have a ton of that right now. And so I think even if this immediate vision stops after that first phase, it would be a mistake to look at that as the end of the story, because there is, somebody mentioned, there's going to be another developer that someday when the market is better is going to come back and see this land and be interested in developing it again. So I hear all these, I'm not negating any of the points that have been said, but I think I am in favor of this for those reasons, because I think this is what new development looks like. And I think that we have long-term needs and interests in trying to encourage development in Osceola, and you don't always get to pick what that development is. The market picks what that development is, and I'm not prepared to say no to it at this point.
What Chelsea say? They still have to sell the lots, right?
They still have to sell the lots. That's right. I mean, if nobody buys the lots, then the developer's sitting there with land that they can't sell.
Yeah.
And we're still taxing the developer on the land. So,
Yeah, it's a tough decision sometimes, but you know, uh, we hear a lot of things about, oh my God, we need affordable housing. We need affordable housing. You put a trailer park in or a manufactured home community in somewhere, and everybody goes berserk. Now we got a little bit of smaller lots coming in, and people are going berserk. I can't imagine if any one of us who started out when we were real young, we were worried about the size of our home. We were just trying to survive. And that's the same way today. People are looking up to start somewhere. This is a little bit, this type of look, reminds me of St. Paul a lot, where the houses are just like right there. I'd go down to my aunt and uncle's, and it's like, the first thing I thought is, what if, when you're young, you think about things and how close, but they felt very comfortable. Their neighbors were right there. There is a market for this. I'm not in that market, but there is a market for it. I like my space, but some people really like. It's the same way with the other apartments on River Street. If everything works out there, there's people that are really excited about it because that's where they want to go. These apartments down the street here are really nice, and they're really excited and they want to go and they want to sell their bigger homes. So I could see the need for this. And if it starts out, and I feel bad for the gentleman who's got his property on near this, and all of a sudden he's going to have neighbors. Yeah, I know how you feel. And then when you go to sell it, we put it up for sale, and they say, oh my God, there's a development going in. Or it could affect that. I understand that. So we have to keep that in mind, but then all of a sudden you got to figure out, is our sewer plant going to handle it? Yes, it will. Is our water? Do we have enough water? Yes, we do. We went through this before, even just with the apartment complex. Are we going to have enough capacity to handle 99 apartments? Yeah, we do. That's already there. Factories, local factories are begging for more employees. Not everybody's going to the cities. The wave of employees coming from the north is staggering. Okay? Coming from the north, we have people going south. Depends on the pay scale you want to be at. All right? That's the plain facts. I just think that it's a lot to handle. These developments are a lot to handle, and I understand that. And it may look a lot different than what you're looking at tonight. But we have to continue growth. If we go stagnant, then all of a sudden you start looking at some other towns up north for the wrong decisions that they have made, and they're stagnant. I've been there. I've seen it. It's horrible, and we don't want that. That's all I got to say is we got to do our best. We got to be smart. I understand that. And I want to do the steps just like the gentleman had talked about. And we have to depend on good information and see where we go from here. That's all I got to say.
I want to read a couple of things right out of our ordinance. So 21918 planned unit developments. It said that, I'm going to paraphrase some of this to get to the point. It tells us we could do it in R1, R2, R3, intended to provide safe and large scale residential, or provide innovative large-scale residential developments. 10 acres. And then it gets into plans, show the location, size, use. And then C, it lists out like 6 items that are what I'm going to consider important. Number 1 talks about density. Number 2 says paved streets and sidewalks adequate to serve the need of the area shall be provided or will be provided. 3, adequate access to public streets and proper internal circulation will be provided. I'm going to jump to 5. The development will constitute a reasonable extension of the living areas in the village and will be compatible with surrounding land uses. And then 6, adequate safeguards will be taken to ensure that the parks and other open spaces on the plan are permanently preserved as parks and open spaces. So out of those 6 criteria, I'm going to say there's 3, possibly 4 that this doesn't meet. And it's pretty clear.
I'll also add too about parks. I know that we don't want any more parks to take care of and maintain, but you're gonna have 300-400 people living here eventually.
Yeah.
They're gonna want a park.
Well, there's no
Because this is kind of isolated by itself. There's nothing else around it. So we'll take some money now to forego the park, but we'll end up spending $30,000, $40,000 later on a park for this community because they're not really near any other parks.
The kids can run across the airport over to Smith Park.
Sure.
Gateway Park, whichever the other one
They
is.
could just slide over the falls
Yeah,
too and play in the river.
We are
Yeah.
putting $200,000 in Gateway Park here next year.
Yeah, it's going to be a great park.
Wonder if maybe.
Wondering about the wetlands and how that's
Right.
gonna affect Todd and his group.
Well,
I wonder about Outlot 3, and
Yeah.
whether or not that could be parkland or not.
Yeah,
Lot
that as
3 would be.
They're not buying out lot 3, I believe. Is that correct?
Not yet.
Correct, but it could definitely, it's still owned by Plainview Acres, so it could still be a park.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know that, I'd hope the airport wouldn't prevent a park area or a field to be mowed that could be used. I don't see that as a problem necessarily. But with no sidewalks, you know, how do you get, even if the answer was to bring them over to the other park gateway? That's a lot of sidewalk that isn't built into here.
Mm-mm. So the wetland, you have to address that in some way, Todd, and a lot of times you don't mess with it. It's just something that's exists on this. It's I don't know if it's designated green space or it's not used by individuals. So how do you deal with that then?
It's, stormwater's tricky, and especially in these retention and detention ponds, because they do need maintenance.
Like for,
We have an overall budget of somewhere around an O&M of $7,000 annually to try to maintain.
right, so you'd have to be, what, picking pop cans out of this or what?
Well, primarily, it'll, you know, technically, it should be potentially dredged every 10 years, you know? The idea is not to have a correct way for your stormwater leaving these streets, to have a place to go and not have continuous standing water in cattails or creating a swamp. They're supposed to.
Just excuse me for 1 minute. So you talked about the dredging, which leads me to the next thing, and I'm done after this, by the way, with this wetland thing. But, you know, that is fairly sizable. And we had an issue involving the airport. Now, we've, Outlot 3, we adjusted that, so the airport wouldn't bother. Is this gonna have any effect on the airport itself for these birds, like we had with up on top of the hill by Quick Trip?
I don't think there'll be any issues there with Outlot 3 remaining the way it is with the overlay. And the wetlands, I don't,
Okay, so it's,
the idea is that we, you know, that these are created so that we don't retain a ton of water, you know. They're designed so that.
right, so it dissipates right away, yeah.
Eventually those soils fail and need to be replaced, dredged, and removed to the tune of, I mean, $20,000+.
Oh. That's it for me.
A couple of questions. So the 2 things that are looking for board action tonight would be rezoning from agricultural to R2, right?
Mhm.
That's one of the
Yep.
things. And then the second thing is a conditional use permit that's been applied for.
Conditional use of permit to be.
which is a PUD.
To be a plan
Right.
use.
So the PUD is actually a conditional use permit in the way that it's legally
Yep.
created.
Yep.
That being said, I would think then if a CUP is granted, that means that the CUP by definition of a CUP being granted operates outside of village code.
With potential conditions, yeah.
Right. I mean, there are certain provisions that should be considered when considering whether or not you would grant a CUP.
You're allowing.
And I would think that the village code would be the guiding document, but there's probably some additional considerations that need to be looked at. My second question is, if the conditional use permit is not granted tonight by the village board, I'm guessing the next place the developer goes is the Board of Appeals. That would be the next place that I would expect that application would go. If their application for CUP is not granted at the village board level, their next option is to appeal to the Board of Appeals.
I would have to double check that to make sure that's the proper protocol, because it'd either be that or the county court.
Okay.
Be one
Yeah.
of the two options.
Right. And I mean, that when we were looking at the potential CUPs in discussion for the Bluffs project, we had the disturbing 10,000 feet of dirt. We had the first floor bedrooms in a mixed use, and then we had the height going from 35 to 45. Those three CUP discussions, there was a lot of talk about what would happen if those CUPs were not approved.
Yeah. And they were challenged. Well, no, I'm trying to remember the.
No, there was a certificate of appropriateness that was challenged in the Board of Appeals, but the CUPs themselves were granted. But the legal terminology that I was always told was that if you are presented with an application for anything, in any kind of a permit, if you meet all of the legal obligations that the permit requires, not only are you allowed to process and approve that permit, you're compelled to. Otherwise, you could just be, in this case, either sued at district court or brought to the Board of Appeals, where another group of individuals are going to look at a group of standards and determine whether or not that list of standards has been met. And if it has, then it gets overturned and it gets passed. So
In this case, so they're asking us to change our legal standards ordinance wise to make this work.
they're asking us to consider whether or not to offer them a conditional use permit. is what
Right.
They're asking.
To deviate outside of our.
Yeah, and if the reasons that we choose don't stand up legally, it'll get overturned. I guess that's the short version of what I'm thinking.
I'm gonna vote against it due that it doesn't meet at least 3, if not 4 of the 6 conditions in 219-18C.
And if that's the guiding document that should be used, I'm kind of inclined to agree with you.
It's the definition of a planned urban development.
Yeah.
And it says provided that the plan indicate that, and then it
Right.
enumerates the 6.
Right.
It is,
Do we know whether or not these provisions are included within the description that the planned use development is talking about? I understand the parkland one because that's payment in lieu.
Yeah, we
But-
addressed that. I gotta pull that up to read it.
But in terms of,
Numbers did you say?
sidewalks would be one.
Can you repeat it?
219-18.
Yeah, I'm sorry, on item C, which ones
C.
were you looking at specifically that were bothering you?
Number 2, I don't feel it meets, which is paved streets and sidewalks adequate to serve the need of the area.
I hear that.
3, adequate access to public streets and proper internal circulation.
Mhm.
5, reasonable extension of the living area in the village and will be compatible with the surrounding land uses.
That one, yes, because the comp plan.
Yeah, the comp plan addresses that one, so.
Surrounding land uses.
But the comp plan allows that to happen because it was zoned this in the comp plan for future land use.
Yeah.
Then
But the other two don't.
it doesn't,
The other two could be conditions you add to it too, that any plat would require those conditions to be met with the plan being presented.
I think I'm kind of partial to Mike's thinking on this because as I read this, it feels like the code is intending that the plan be presented all at once rather than in chunks, which is kind of how we started this conversation, that we would approve minimum lot sizes and things.
The question
And
has
then
to be
later
what-
on, we would move into street layout and that stuff. But the code kind of suggests that the plans need to indicate all of this at once before we
The question I
approve it.
have is, how can you go forward with that if you don't approve the setbacks? Because that would drastically change the layout. I would recommend if you go forward with it tonight, that you lay those as conditions for the plat. Because if you said, no, we don't like these setbacks, right? We want them to be 90 feet instead of 60. They would have to redraw the whole thing. and then the sidewalks wouldn't fit.
So
Or-
What's the?
the planning commission voted 4-3, 3 against on this plan. I would think that would be enough message to say that it maybe might not be well received and that there's time to reorganize that. I think I made similar comment, and that was when Russ said, well, this is the only design that would financially make sense. And I'm maybe putting words in his mouth, but I think that was the intent of it.
What was the code section that it was 218?
219-18.
21918, okay.
And I guess the code says that the plans may provide for a combination of single-family and multi-use development, provided that the plans indicate that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So in my mind, as in particular items, sub-items 2 and 3, under C, where we're talking about paved streets and sidewalks, and to me, the sidewalks is the relevant thing there. And then adequate access to public streets and proper internal circulation, which we've talked about as well. Devin, it seems to me that you could return with that color map there, indicating your sidewalk plan and taking into account the feedback that's been provided on the streets like that. I don't think the code's calling for fully engineered plans. It's just calling for an indication of what those plans are. I mean, I also hear the point that we could put conditions on it, but I'm just trying to game out.
I'm gonna ask
what
Ross
the
to
options
have
are.
if he has any comments he wants, because these questions are, I'm not the developer. I'm just thinking
Yeah.
through
Yeah.
possibilities.
I'm just trying to chew my way through like what our obligation is.
Yep, no, those are very good questions. And it's always been the intent of the developer to design the street, sidewalk, trails, however the village wants it. This plan wasn't intended to show that we weren't gonna build streets and sidewalk. It's just the colored concept plan to go with the rezoning items. And like you said, that's my interpretation of the code too. That, again, we always perform on that fine line for a developer, what goes in the final plat and the final engineering drawings, what goes in the rezoning and the preliminary plat and so forth, because they don't have an open checkbook to pay us to design the entire project and have the rezoning denied. That's a lot of money sitting out there that there's not one developer I know that would proceed in that fashion. So that's why the codes are written, to give you some guidance. And you'll have plenty of opportunity, on the layout. It's the reason why we presented the concept plan with the layout and roads. We're totally fine with taking out the cul-de-sac and connecting out to 258th, connecting to the north. The developer just doesn't have the funds to connect up through the north throughout lot 3 when he does not have lots fronting on that road to help pay for it. So it all comes down to cost and so forth in terms of what is the breaking point for the developer to just walk away from it.
I still feel like we're putting the cart ahead of the horse a little bit though, because these lots are so tightly packed, so small, that I feel like even add that sidewalk would change everything, let alone if we check with the fire department and police department on the road sizes in these maps, because all that's taken into account to maximize the space they have. So if these roads are not up to fire truck standards or have to be 6 feet wider or whatever's determined later on, then this plan will have to change as far as lot size, number of lots, things like that as well. So
Ross, what was the size of the roads?
The right of way is proposed as 60 feet, and then whatever your code is, I think it's either 34 or 36, face of curb to face of curb, 5-foot sidewalks, both sides of the street. Everything in compliance with your code.
12-foot drive lanes.
The width
Yep.
was already.
2-lane parking both sides, unless some communities are going to narrower
That was one of the
streets
things we
with
talked about,
parking
was
on one
making
side.
sure that the streets were the proper width, because that was our first comment, is I did not want another.
Yeah, right.
And so just to clarify, the visual that we're all looking at includes space that meet the village code for street width.
Yep.
And includes space for sidewalks.
Yep. If you remember, if you look at our memo, we did not have anything in that PUD memo asking for something different with regard to those items. the street, the connectivity, you know, that you're saying we're not in compliance with. We're all in agreement. We'll provide whatever you want regarding those items. And that will come with the next step.
Nicole?
On the colored one, you can kind of see that are there sidewalks laid out there?
Yeah, there's like a light gray color and a
Yeah.
dark gray color. Correct. It's just, you know, the scale of the map, we tried to put everything on one page instead of splitting it up. It's a lot easier to see from a visual. You know, once we go to the next step, you know, the drawings will be at a much smaller scale where you will see all that detail on where the sidewalks are, the street and the
Yeah.
width, and we'll have typical sections and so forth. There's a lot of work that we'll be going through with village staff review and your consultant and everything, you know, regarding the stormwater. You know, back to the wetlands, we delineated the wetlands that are shown on this map with our assured wetland delineator. So,
What is that?
we have an assured wetland delineator. So based on her certification, her wetland delineation document, once it's submitted to the DNR, is automatically approved. There's no DNR review and approval through that process.
Pre-approved.
And they're
basically.
very protected and restricted. The DNR, the Army Corps aren't gonna let us go in there and disturb those wetlands. That's why we showed the stormwater ponds in and around the wetlands, where all the stormwater will come in from the development. We'll go through the stormwater management design with volume control and water quality. And it'll be designed hydraulically to keep water within the wetland areas, to keep them as they are. Typically, you don't maintain wetlands over time. The only thing some communities will do a controlled burn within their wetlands if they can get, you know, approval with the DNR and so forth. So,
Yeah, I think it's important to understand the distinction here that we're not approving a site plan.
yeah,
We're literally just talking about whether or not we're going to offer the developer an opportunity to start a PUD. And if they can't design one that conforms with village code, they're not going to have a PUD. It's just, it's going to get stopped at the planning commission.
exactly.
So, you know, I appreciate what Mike's doing. He's looking at our own village code, which guides what we should be doing. And if they are not capable of presenting a site plan, then there just won't be a development. So, but I don't know that it's responsible to prevent them with the opportunity to even try. Like, they've followed all of the proper procedures with respect to asking for the rezone. They've annexed the land. They've participated in following the legal procedures to continue this process. The only decision we have to make tonight is whether or not we offer them the opportunity to try and build a PUD. And if they can't propose one that fits within village code, then they're just not going to build anything.
Well, I think I echo all of that. And I think Mike's point about the code, I take well. And to me, the question is, like, do those plans indicate the things the plans need to indicate? And I think at this stage in the process, they do, especially after the clarification that we just got. So I'm comfortable with moving forward to the next step. And I think I've enjoyed my time as a half lawyer there thinking about indicate. But I think that they've met that stage. So I'm prepared to move forward. That'd be my reaction.
Your opinion on the board action and whether or not it should be 2 board actions or 1?
It can, actually, let's make it one to rezone R2 and then one to make the PUD or the
Conditional use.
Do they have to be passed in a certain order?
rezone first.
Rezone first. Okay. Do we have a motion to rezone the property from agricultural to R2?
So moved.
Thank you, Neil. Is there a second? I will offer that myself. A motion by Neil and a second by me to rezone the property from agricultural to R2. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries.
And now would be the motion to turn to.
The next board action would be to entertain a motion on the conditional use permit for a planned use development.
So moved.
Thank you, Neil. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Nicole. We have a motion by Neil and a second by Nicole to approve the conditional use permit for the planned use development. Given the amount of discuss,
Yeah, Eric brought a good point up, just that, the conditions that they meet the village code for their plat. Is that what you're gonna say?
Yeah, I think of two different things. One is the concessions that they're asking for. So it's specific concessions to lot widths and things as presented. And also, I don't know that you have to have a condition on there that you meet the rest of the rules as you go through the process necessarily, but
That's given. But yeah, so the
Yeah.
motion would be a PUD with the rules set forth in the memo as
Yeah.
stated.
and no conditions because we can
Yeah.
stop it later at plan. So if it doesn't follow, so.
Yep.
Right, that's kind of how I
Yep.
felt about it. Given the amount of discussion that was on this, I'd prefer to take a roll call vote. If there's no discussion on the motion.
So the motion was approve.
Approval of the CUP for a planned use development
As presented and
as presented.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll move to a vote. Roll call, Nicole?
Aye.
Ron?
Nay.
Myself is an aye. Van?
Aye. Aye.
Motion fails, 3-3. Moving to the next item of business.
Russ, I'll talk to you tomorrow. I'll call you tomorrow.
Okay, item 9 on the agenda is the other business discussion and possible action regarding 9A, the 2025 pulverize and pave project, Stantec.
Yes, this one's pretty simple. We have a change order and a pay application. I approved the change order due to the fact that our road would not have a warranty unless we change some of the base. So I approved that nominal fee to make sure that we had proper base for the road. Without a warranty, why do the road project, right? So I did approve that. So tonight would be approving change order number 1 and then the pay application number 1, 2. Todd, if I remember correctly, we're withholding 5% still for contingencies.
Yep, that's correct. So we're holding back 5% for contingencies, and as we review the punch list, however, just so the board is aware, we could potentially be running about 10% over on the project overall. A significant amount of material did have to come out of Fourth Avenue and Hill Street. We had a lot of sand, had a lot of issues with the current soils. And given the fact that we didn't spend thousands of dollars on soil bearings and geographic, getting geographic data from what was underneath there, that's kind of what we're looking at right now.
Yeah, the base of the roads were a lot of sand, far worse than we were anticipating. So with that, we had to take extra out to get the proper base down.
Okay. So what's the board action that's required here?
Approved, motion to approve, change order 1.
Change order 1 and
application
pay,
1.
and pay application number 1. Okay.
I will make that motion to approve change order number 1 and pay application number 1.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Van and a second by Ron to approve items 1 and 2, the change order number 1 and pay application number 1. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. 9B, telecommunications lease with DRA Properties.
Okay, before you tonight is the lease for the telecommunications tower that would happen in Oakey Park. Tonight is the lease agreement. I will say one caveat in there. After looking at village code and our attorney recommended that you approve it tonight pending village code review and possible change because our village code for telecommunication towers has not been updated in 25 years. And the change of quality and construction of poles has changed drastically since then. So we have to make sure that our code allows for certain items that might come up in this lease. So it would be condition of village code review and possibly change tonight too. So that was the recommendation from the village attorney.
Interesting.
So,
isn't that kind of like cart before the horse?
Yeah.
so what, I guess I'm not quite understanding what you're saying.
He wants us to approve a lease with a lease that may change.
I don't know about that.
Because basically our village code has not changed in 25 years for these towers.
Well, maybe we have to change that.
Yeah, I think we would have to hear about the change.
Yeah, I don't dare vote on anything like that.
aside from that, I was a little confused by some of the language on the lease. I'm trying to find the page, so my apologies.
Looks like it's page, was it 98?
98.
Yeah.
In the packet?
So like right off the bat, initial term of 182 months, 15 years, 2 months for $500. Is that $500 for all 15 years?
What it is, it's $500 for their lease portion. So it's $1,500 for the lease tower and then $500 for Verizon. So it's just worded, I worded it funny. I do apologize for that. It's going to be equating to $15,000 a year for the lease.
Okay. There was some of that was confusing because then after I perused, I'm like, well, maybe there's a number at the bottom.
No, it's $15,000 a year that we negotiated on, and then an additional $250 a month for any tower that is put on top of it. So like if T-Mobile wants to put a tower on there with them, we get an additional $250 for that.
So we don't own the tower though.
We do not own the tower. No,
We're just getting a cut of the rent.
they're renting we're renting the space to them for $15,000 a year, and then per tenant we get a kick of it too. And then they're allowing us to put our siren on their tower free of charge for no rent, but we have to pay for the installation.
I'm with the other two comments. Let's fix the ordinance, get it cleaned up so that we're in agreement to it. And then clean up some language here to understand the money.
Are we in a time crunch for this lease? I know we waited for it forever.
That's
About a
part of
year.
it was in legal review for the last month. And that was the big holdup on that was the legal review.
What
Well, he was on vacation or
so
something,
what
wasn't
negative impacts are there if
So
this
the issue we run
condition
into-
is not placed? I want more clarity on Paul's.
What we ran
concern.
into is the first sentence of the village code for telecommunications towers say telecommunication towers are allowable in all zoned areas. Then 5 paragraphs down, it says telecommunications towers are not allowed in residential if they're commercial. So our code contradicts itself right there.
Gotta clean that up.
So right there, that's information that needs to be addressed.
Sounds like it can go anywhere at this point.
Or nowhere.
Or nowhere.
And that's what I was saying. And then it's also addressing guide wires and stuff, what are drastically out of date because these monopoles don't have any guide wires.
No.
So we have a code that doesn't even address modern day technologies for these telecommunication towers.
So it would be at least 2 months before we could
At
update
least,
that.
yeah.
And so that's why I'm wondering, is this?
That's
gonna hold up the
why
lease, and is there-
that is why we're requesting that tonight because they are kind of under a crunch from Verizon.
Okay, well, I mean, we've worked for this for quite a while, so
All of a
is it
sudden,
reasonable to put that kind of a condition on an approval for a lease? Approval impending code changes? I mean, if they're okay with it, I guess, I mean, there's no risk for
I almost
us.
feel like the community would say, give us a tower under any circumstances. We don't care. However,
You're not wrong.
however, it doesn't seem prudent. And I don't know why. I'd be dumbfounded to see that. I get you're saying that construction might happen yet this year. Again, I'm in construction. I doubt that would happen. Their procurement of electronics and the house and stuff, it ain't gonna get turned on this year.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So I mean, our attorney's saying that if we add the kicker that we're gonna, update the code, providing it's added, then it's fine to do.
And if the code doesn't pass, then this lease can't happen. So it wouldn't be in compliance with the.
So if we were to put the condition on this, the condition is that we approve the lease provided you meet whatever version of the future code is.
Yep.
So to Brad's point, if they don't meet, this is the most lawyering I've ever done in my life in an hour session. But if they don't meet the future version of the code, then the lease doesn't happen.
Mhm.
So to your point, as weird as this is, there is no risk to us because at the end of the day, they're going to meet whatever we pass whenever we pass it.
Right?
Which
I
is
get
gonna
what
be,
Paul's saying.
yeah, which could be industry standard.
Yeah, which I'm
Nothing's
sure
out.
will not be
What is industry standard?
a
Well, we
problem.
don't know. We haven't checked. it.
Exactly.
We have to write it
The
down.
engineer has to tell us that.
The joys of reading village code sometimes you find these loopholes.
I know,
that are-
and we've had this conversation before where we'll discover a deficiency in village code, and oftentimes the only time you ever discover it is when it applies to something you're trying to do. So that's very, very common.
What's that lot currently zoned over there?
residential.
Hmm.
and there's nothing touching it, so anything changing it would be a spot
There's no
zone.
commercial on it though, is there?
No.
Yeah, so that wouldn't be an
So
issue.
you couldn't even rezone it or anything else because it's all RU zoned, which is urban residential. And there's no commercial touching that lot itself. So any change would be deemed spot zoning because then it's also not in our.
Almost feel like this is due a CUP because what happens in 5 years, somebody else wants to. put a
However,
tower up.
all towers are conditional use permits in the whole village.
Oh.
So approving it, we have to go through a CU, once they give us the site plan, we have to go through a CUP.
Oh, got it.
a
Okay.
CUP process.
All right,
anyways.
knowing that, I'm fine with offering the lease then with the lawyer's opinion. That's fine, because I know that there's a CUP process that'll probably coincide with code change, so.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd be fine. So I guess the motion would be to approve the lease with the legal considerations offered by the village attorney.
Yep, I'll make sure I have the exact language from Paul on that.
Okay. Anybody want to float that one? Who wants to put their lawyer hat on now?
Haven't you got enough where you can really roll this out?
So moved.
Neil, you're a brave soul.
Oh, yeah, well, don't come.
Motion by Neil, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Van, you're an adventurous one.
Yeah.
We have a motion by Neil and a second by Van to approve this lease with the legal conditions placed by the village attorney.
If that works.
You're setting bad precedents.
Where there's risk, there's reward.
Well, that doesn't sound like there's any risk to the village here.
There you go.
All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no.
No.
Passes. Moving.
I'm still excited for an antenna though.
There with you.
From your vote, Mike.
Yeah.
That's just you blocked out.
You're gonna want that antenna.
Moving on, 9C.
Except this phone number.
TID, 9C, TID purchase and development agreement, CE Werzer.
Yes, so we've already approved the purchase agreement for CE Werzer for their 72 unit, 5-unit development up by Quick Trip on top of Ridge Road. This would tonight would be, we also approved the TID amount that we're willing to give to Werzer at the last meeting too. So this would allow us to approve the TID agreement and development agreement as it's been looked over by our attorney, their attorney, multiple times for agreements and by me. So we agreed to the $1 million in TID incentive. The TID performance shows that this project does float and would be captured, would be TID positive before the end of the TID district.
Like 10 years, right?
It is about 2037-ish. So we had extra years of increment the village would collect.
This is 1.1, right? 1.1 million? Yeah.
Yep, this is $1.1 million incentive. The remaining incentive we be using for road improvements for the
Ridge.
For Ridge Road. We're well below the threshold for residential within the TID district. We're also well below the recommended maximum amount for TID incentive. We have decreased the amount of TID incentive we were going to give them originally due to the fact that the village is going to pay for Ridge Road completion through the TID incentive. The reason we did that is currently we have 2 developers, C and Werzer, on this site, and it just made the whole project easier to decrease their TID incentive and just us put the road in
Right.
with the TID incentive.
Because we'll have tax dollars to take care of that after
Yep.
the TID is positive and the
Yep.
TIF has been paid back anyway, so.
So that was the whole plan with this project.
Okay.
By my recommendation and village attorney's recommendation that we approve development and TID agreement tonight.
Okay, and did everybody get a chance to see the later sent attachments showing both this and a later?
Yeah, that was
TIF?
the
Okay.
same TID attachment that was in 2 or 3 months ago.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve this TID and purchase and development agreement.
Just TID and development. Purchase was approved already. Yep.
Oh, sorry, it says TID purchase and development agreement, so. So we would approve
The
this
TID agreement,
incentive and
the TID
development
and
agreement.
development agreement.
Thank
are the
you.
two.
So moved with the point that it appears on page 6, there is a typo. Under 6.1, there are not line numbers, but it's the 3rd line up from the bottom. There appears to be an errant E and a comma stuck in there.
That's probably from me printing the draft version, not the final version.
So that, and on page 8, it appears at the top, there is an item F with no item, but there's an F bullet point.
No.
I'll make sure Paul is aware of those and deletes those from his documents before they're signed.
Summarize those again for me, please.
Page 6, there is a typo. Third line up from the bottom. And page 8, there is an extra F bullet point that appears to have nothing attached to it.
I see the highlighted issue on page 6.
Yep, and then F is missing on page
Page
8.
8, up at the top of page 8.
We deleted
That,
that one all the way to M at one point.
well, you didn't cut it back quite far enough because there's still F.
I don't know that those two changes the legal.
It does not change the structure of the agreement.
Okay.
Typos are allowed to be changed without motions.
The proper motion would be to approve this agreement with corrective changes.
Like I said, clerical errors do not have to be in the motion.
They don't have to be in the motion.
No, because typing motions are deemed
Got it.
as.
Simpler then. I'll second the motion. Motion by Neil and a second by myself to approve the TID and development agreement. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries. 9D, which is the first reading of the sex offender ordinance.
Yeah, so last week at the planning commission meeting, we went through the ordinance for sex offender ordinance for living in the village limits. They recommended approval to the village board for the first read. At the second read, which tonight we would gather input from the board and possible changes, and then the second reading would happen next month with a public hearing for the public to give their input on the ordinance. This ordinance had been crafted by Paul Muller, the village attorney. He's crafted it from various other ordinances around the state that have been challenged in the courts for these very reasons. We agreed upon 200 feet for the barrier. When we did the map, or Eric did the map, it showed that it has enough buffer to create bubbles around the safe zones without being too restrictive that it would not hold up in the court. Ideally, we did look originally at 300 feet, but in my opinion, we were being too restrictive because it totally blocked out areas of the village that would not be allowable to live, which then would put us into a chance to be challenged for this ordinance. I guess we can take any comments or concerns. I know AJ did ask a few questions from the attorney too.
So when I made the motion, it was contingent we fix the map.
But we didn't have time to fix the map. It will be fixed before the second read.
Well, and I actually was thinking back because I thought back about a comment, a concern about, I think, a type of property and whether it was included or not, and if the map was representative of it. I actually think we should not include the map because the language is better. The map assumes that nothing's ever going to change.
Good point.
The thing, it was missing the schools, or part of the schools.
The schools on education.
On Education Drive, yeah. But again, looking back, the language supports it. The map was just incorrect. So I just think we move forward with the language like was legally sound and just omit any kind of other extra erroneous interpretation.
And that's not a bad idea, because I know there's some churches that have daycares.
It
certain
got
towns
into,
all that aren't on the map and things like that.
yeah, it got into a lot of interpretation of properties with churches, schools, activities, and I think the language covered that.
And that can be something that can be omitted prior to second reading.
Yep. And yeah, if
The map was
for
just
now-
a visual guide, I assume, like a,
visual
think
guide to show you
broadly
what.
speaking, this is what we would be doing.
I think we took it as maybe it was part of it, and that was why the comment was made and approved, and everybody was like, yeah, let's add that change.
Okay.
Looking
I
back,
wanted to
I
show
don't
you to see
think-
what it'll look like and why we only want this distance, because if you went any bigger, you can obviously see that certain areas would have been connected and we would have created huge pockets that would have not been allowable.
Yeah.
The sensitivity of the topic, my comment was, I'm not a lawyer, nor do I pretend to be one. I don't want to try to interpret what somebody else says is already sound.
Can I ask the chief reactions, thoughts on this? I haven't had the chance to hear anything from you, so I'm just curious what you.
Yeah, no, I think when we first started undergoing this process of doing research, I reached out, I got several different other ordinances from various communities in Wisconsin and just trying to see what the high points, what made sense, what didn't make sense, what would be applicable to Osceola versus, city of Milwaukee type deal. I think this current ordinance touches on a lot of those issues from a police perspective that we were looking at. And again, the 200-foot rule that is proposed, I think, is probably that Goldilocks zone to where it's defensible if it does get challenged, and that's always kind of the barrier we have to balance. If we start including other private properties with this as well, then that bubble just increases. And I mean, it's interesting to see how much public parks and land that's owned by the school we have in the village, but that's also kind of the curse when trying to implement something like this, is you can't make it too restrictive or else you're going to get challenged with it. So
You made a comment at one of the other meetings that this is more of and correct me if I'm wrong, this is more of a proactive guideline that if somebody does want to move to town, it's a way they can look at it and go, I need to try to avoid these areas.
Sure.
I'd like to hope that somebody's going to look at it and go, okay, this might be a little vague as to what this building's being used for. I'm just not going to go rent there, or I'm not going to buy a house there or something.
Yeah, it's essentially, we've gotten calls at the police department from prospective people that were looking to move into the village and ask, do we have such an ordinance? And, at the time, we don't, but if we were to pass this and enact this, that map, the ordinance itself would be, a guide for them, like a quick reference, like, okay, where's the house I'm looking at, or where's the apartment building I'm looking at? Oh, that's in the bubble. I can't do it.
I got a good question for you, or maybe it's for Paul, but what happens when this ordinance gets enacted, if it passes, and we have people that are within 200 feet and they've been living there for a while? Because
Grandfathered in.
Because I know that we have that.
So anytime you enact an ordinance, you can't retroactive to the people affected.
Right.
You can only do it that date going forward.
Okay, that's my question.
So if they move to another part or something, then it's,
If they move, that would be a separate occurrence.
okay.
That'd be a new residence.
So again, we're just discussing this as a reading. What's the next step on it?
No action, recommend a second reading as presented, or if you have changes, let us know the changes too.
Do you guys have any concerns about it or anything jumping out to any of you?
Are all the prior statutes on here as well? It looks like it, but I just.
Yeah,
wanna make
they're-
Sure, because statutes change time to time.
Yep, on the second page, they note prior statutes.
Do you feel comfortable with the role your position is given, like in the appeals process and stuff? Does that seem?
Yeah, I think that would be fine if it were to if we had someone that were to take us up on the appeals process. I would have no problem sitting in on that and offering input.
Well, I'm pretty comfortable with it. They did a good job. It's covered a lot of territory.
For the appeals process, it states, a member of the village board. Would we assign someone to that, or would that be something?
There's two ways you go about that. It could be as needed, or every time that'd be an assignment that's listed in your appointments yearly.
Okay.
So you could either just do it as appoint as needed that way, like if you just need one of the 7 there, or if you want to, if the village president wants to have an appointment for the term, that would be also the process. With how infrequently this probably will meet, it'd probably be best just to have a member at large of whoever's available.
The other thing I'd look at would be under appeals. I mean, there's some language that doesn't really apply to us. It mentions police commission, public safety committee, and a village board member. I mean, we should maybe tailor that to police and fire committee,
Combine B and C.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I saw that too.
And then the community member at large, that would be an appointment.
It could be an appointment or once, I would
Yeah.
recommend that would be appointment. Could even be a member of the school or whatever it might be.
That's a good idea.
Have we talked with the school about, has the school seen this draft?
Not yet.
That'll be an important place for feedback.
I was also gonna talk with probation and parole, get a more developed copy to get their input as well.
Yeah, I think once we get to the second reading, that's where we make sure that a member of the schools are present.
I did talk to Becky today too about it.
Becky was here for a little while, but. All right, is there board action required to move to the second reading or no? This is just first reading. I don't think there is. We just discussed what's
No
here.
motion
So,
needed. I would note those, I'm gonna note those changes though, especially B and C.
does anybody else have anything they need to discuss on the matter? No? Okay. All right, so we'll move on then. 9E, Third and River Street Traffic Study Authorization.
Yes, so last week at Planning Commission, we brought forward some concept ideas of how we'd like to go forward. So far, we have not designed a street, so we have not had public engagement for a street design that we have not fully designed yet. This tonight is authorizing SEA to go forward with the traffic study, which would then engage interested parties in this area for that to account for their numbers on the road. Now is the point that we start getting the community engagement for this project. Without the TID dollars for the apartment complex going forward, we couldn't have done this project. But for that project, we would not have the funds for it. So now that we know that project's coming to fruition, we're getting to the part where we plan and design Third and River. So like I said, this is now where we start having community engagement sessions and really finding out how we're going to develop this street. But the first step is to actually figure out what the traffic is going to be on this street. And this would be allowing us to go forward with this traffic study that Eric presented today, and he can talk more about now.
Get away, Eric.
Yeah, so I'm not going to get into too much of the details of the actual traffic study, but kind of the overlying piece is at Plan Commission a few months back, we got directed to develop two different concepts. And the concepts currently are, and what this traffic study is looking at, is to, so this is all in conjunction, like Devin said, with the development of the old hospital site and the Osceola Bluff apartment complex and how that affects the neighborhood basically with traffic. And so we looked at two different main options. One, basically to keep Third and River the same as they are today, meaning two-way traffic along that entire stretch. So if you drive through there, similar to how it is today. The other was to look at a one-way street starting at 4th Avenue. And then when you would take a left, if you're on 4th Avenue and you took a left onto River, that would begin a one-way. And it would be a one-way past the old hospital site and continue on 3rd Avenue out to Highway 35 to Cascade. So this traffic study would look at those two. It would both take traffic counts of today's activities, meaning put up cameras to look at traffic counts. They look at both during the week, on the weekend, and on Sunday as well. Do understand that there's other activities that happen at the church, not on Sundays, and we can look at that too. But this would be to start looking at how those different traffic flows do impact traffic and get feedback of that study of how can we improve. So we're not locked into any sort of design. We're really just starting design. And Devin mentioned the public involvement piece. There was multiple comments during the Plan Commission meeting, again, multiple comments tonight about the concern for the lack of public involvement. And I'll just echo that we are just getting started. We do want to engage those that are in and affected by this project. We want it to work well when it's done. This is
this is a large, apartment redevelopment kind of idea for the area. Talking to my traffic engineer, he doesn't feel the emotional impacts maybe that this does, and feels that it's something that we can design around as far as traffic flow goes, but want to collect the data, want to do the estimates of what the new development will create and flow of traffic, and then try to make decisions off of that. So we won't, I guess I won't recommend that we start public involvement until we get some of this information back. But talk about, in the proposal, take about 5 weeks to do this, to collect the data and then analyze the data and then formulate it into something that's usable. And then we continue the discussion on kind of where we move forward. I mentioned in my memo to the board, kind of cover letter to this, but I think it's worth mentioning that, again, these two options that we laid out were to look at traffic. And there's other things that are talked about in improvements of bump outs for traffic calming to slow traffic down. There's a potential for, road narrowing and bump outs to provide stormwater management, which was part of. I'm just starting to get my arms around this whole project, but it's been looked at for years of, what can be done here, but now we're trying to find out what we actually should do too.
I was gonna say, did you find this stuff from 3-4 years
Yeah,
ago?
it was 2021. I know they did some community engagement involving this project. But without designs, how much community engagement can you really get without ideas that are going forward?
Right, ideas are good. I know that back then, my input, Paul's input, with intersections, fire trucks, while trying to maximize parking and making sure traffic flow was safe. I mean, all that stuff was also looked at as well, but it's good that we're doing it again. And the community engagement part's huge, so.
Yeah. In layman's terms, the way I interpret this is a study of current and future traffic, pedestrians, you're modeling everything.
Correct. Yep.
It was a softball. I knew that. That's why I'm for it. I'd rather us not say, I've heard comments about past traffic studies. To me, those are worthless. They don't really show us what's going on right now. They're not useful to the end decision. Yeah, and there were in the past there was no traffic. It was a high estimate guess.
Yeah, estimate based on use for that was what was done as part of the grant application. So there's a grant application too. So we were awarded a grant last spring, April of 24, and in that application, there's a maybe 3-page description of the project, and as part of the application you fill out, you got to put in some traffic numbers, and they note that no traffic data was collected, but based on the existing use, this is where we estimated.
So we're looking for a motion to approve this study, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. And the LREP will help
Before
cover
you
this.
make it, hold on. Just because I made a promise that I would ask the question, I don't know, is there some sort of industry standard that would necessitate taking traffic counts at noon on Wednesday on more than one occasion? Because I was told by somebody that they had witnessed somebody out doing traffic count work
We have
in the middle of the day on a Wednesday twice.
We haven't authorized anything as our staff.
Is that,
Yeah,
that's not some sort of industry standard to, like, you take it on this day at this time to get some sort of a
No. And maybe
comparable?
Yeah, I know, and I'm not a traffic engineer, but my understanding, your peak hours is what you really want to look at. When's the most traffic? That's when people are going to and from work and different potential events.
And I'm gonna tell you, it's gonna be Sunday morning. That's the peak traffic for that corner.
You better come for a funeral, because last funeral we had, you had to park up at Dick's.
Yeah, and there's gonna be cases when traffic does not flow well, and maybe a funeral is one of those examples too.
All right, that answers my question. Sorry, I just,
I put a lot of stake in a traffic engineer. They're not just your average engineer. They're way smarter than like civil engineers and stuff.
Wow.
I say that in joke, but they're a specialist in this. They're going to know enough to say what are the things around this area, churches, schools, the curve, blind spots. There's more to it than we can even speculate. I'm going to trust they know what they're doing.
Yeah,
You guys are a big company.
and Josh, the particular traffic engineer that work on this too could be available for, questions, plan commission or residents too. And
I'm gonna guess he'll show up just like everybody else and say, this is our preliminary shot, and we'll make some comments. Did you do X, Y, Z? And he'll go, okay, let me revisit that. And then maybe he'll come up with a final or something.
I'll make the motion that we approve the traffic study.
Seconded.
Okay, I have a motion by Ron and a second by Mike to approve the traffic study. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. All right, 9F, publication of monthly citations in newspaper.
Yes, this was an item requested by trustee Van Burch and Neil Klein regarding that the village should publish the citations in the monthly or in the Osley Sun monthly. They can talk more about it. My recommendation is to not go forward with it, as we would spend thousands of dollars in publication fees. That's stuff that can be publicly assessed already. So that is my recommendation going forward.
Yeah, so you don't want the extra money spent. So that was one thing that in the process that I had a question on, and now you've answered it, that it's going to be an extra cost. I see that other municipalities and that the county also, they do publish the court documents, court records. I'm looking at the reason why I'm bringing it up is I'm looking at a more transparency as to what is happening with, going on with law enforcement, the enforcement. I know they're working, the reports are good. We should be thinking about that too, as those monthly reports getting out. You just don't see the outcome or where the citations are being wrote. We were talking about, and somebody asked me the question about the old hospital, and that there was a person that fell off, and then did they, obviously they're trespassing, and this would become a real issue. And they're talking about a lot of the people are from out of town that are coming in, and what's attracting them, and people that have been caught, we don't even know who the people are that have been doing the graffiti. If somebody's been caught there, we're not seeing anything, and we're just getting numbers, which is nice. I appreciate that. There has to be obviously some care in juveniles. Obviously you're not going to put that out. I would nearly wanted to start somewhere as to getting more information out. If it's going to cost that much to put it in the paper, obviously we haven't budgeted for it, and maybe, we have enough issues with money the way it is, and I don't think, I don't think it's worth putting it in the Osceola Sun. But if we could at least think about and try to make some sort of action for the direction of putting a little bit more of this information on our website. Talked about newsletters. I don't get a newsletter from the village, even though I live here, because I'm not on utilities. There may be a bunch of others that are not on utilities that do not get a newsletter.
We post our newsletter online too, right, Carrie?
Right. So you get an online newsletter, but again, I do know people that, don't work well with these types of machines. So believe it or not. So anyway, that's what I'm looking at. It is kind of concerning to, it's not that they're not doing anything. Law enforcement's been busy. It's been short staff, but it's also going to reflect on the growing activities that have been going on, and that it will help us in decision making, and it'll also include the general public on more informative decisions to make when we're asking for a budget increase. The levy, or not the levy, but we attempted a referendum for an increase, and that failed miserably, for the simple fact is there was so much information out there thrown at the general public. It was like, wow, that's a lot to take in what we need. And we really did need it. We still do, but we're working with that. We're trying to, through that. But that's all I'm asking is some consideration as to what avenues we can take besides the paper if we want to see more out there. And I just have to have the opinion of the rest of the board and what they think.
I think it's a great idea to share the information. I do think an electronic way that's searchable in the future would be great. I know I've looked at other things, tried to find stuff, and it's cumbersome to go back and try to find an old report on something to do it, and then to work with Jennifer to try to find the right thing that might help me. So, and I know there's, I was aware of one thing at the county where the county used to do a lot of publication in the paper, and they found out they weren't getting much of it wasn't a value. That appeared good, but it didn't have a lot of value, and they've got rid of it and saved a bunch of money.
And I, when Van called to talk about it with me, I felt like it was a worthwhile discussion to have. I told Van on the call, like, I don't want to spend money publishing this information, but I do think that there's value in making sure we're communicating with the public about what the police department alongside Public Works and all of our village departments are doing. And I think the police, your reports provide that kind of monthly summary. But I think there's an opportunity to, if you, every 6 months you came to us and said, here's the last 6 months, here's what we've been doing, and here's how that relates to the previous 6 months. Like, that kind of information I think is helpful, so that, to Van's point, as we're talking with folks in the community about what the village is doing, there's that kind of information that's out there. I don't know what the best route is. I think I totally hear the point about AI. I totally hear the point that, like, putting it in the paper, I don't think you're going to get much. I think the village newsletter, I question how many people go through that. So I don't have a good suggestion for you on the way to do it. But I think what I'm hearing from Van and what I'm trying to communicate is an interest in more communication about, if that's court activities that then reflect on what the police department's been doing, or more longitudinal information about the police department. I think that would be valuable.
I guess as far as information and data, like what are we thinking? Purely citations or arrests, criminal referrals? And do we want to know, like, the
I think it looks like what
demographics
you'd
of the
see in the
person?
newspaper, but not in the paper. So you get maybe some tickets written, like who they are. When you flip through, they're looking for that guy you went to high school with.
Yeah,
See if
so
he
you
got his
want like the
third
name,
OWI.
the age usually is on there, and then where they're from and what citation they got of some
We want to
sort.
know
Is
when you
that
went
what
and
you
chased
want?
the random goat down Main Street.
And I guess
Those comical things too.
I'm less hung up on that, because admittedly I get the paper and I do not flip through that. Maybe I should be entertaining, but
Do sometimes it is.
I'm more interested, like, when you were starting to talk about arrests and citations and those kinds of things. I think that that's relevant information about your workload, and we get it on a monthly basis, which is useful. But to be able to have a better understanding of what kind of workload you're under beyond just last month and how that relates to the month before or the year before, I would find it at a minimum educational to see.
But I think the 6 months is too much. I think we're going to start seeing it. Devin, you started working on that, those numbers of the building, and the years past, which is really interesting to see how things have impacted building just alone. But you're going to see this in statistics as far as law enforcement.
And if people aren't aware too, you do have the FBI crime stats that are updated every year, but they lag a year behind. So you can view the crimes that are happening in the community too that way.
Right. Well, I'm not going to be looking up the FBI crime stats. I want to know exactly what's going on here.
Oh, it breaks it down into municipality.
Okay.
It breaks it down really far.
Right. How many?
So
Yeah.
the police department does reports every month for UCR.
Yeah,
not
yeah.
called UCR anymore, but.
Yeah,
They do it, yeah, NIBRS
yeah.
and stuff,
So,
yeah.
okay,
But
so,
basically what I'm saying is our department heads in our department are relaying the information they need to relay. Big cases, current investigations, I think. There's press releases when needed. Jen Giller just processed, we just heard 15 or 17 open records and request forms that people want to know information, right? I get what the board's asking for, maybe once every 3 or 6 months, a comparison over the last year or something, not every month by any means. But we have to weigh this. I know we're on a social media, we want to know everything in the world, but really, I don't care if someone, personally speaking, I don't care if someone out there gets a speeding ticket as long as they were endangering somebody's life, right? The insurance company will worry about that. I think as long as we're getting the important information, we don't need every minute detail on who did what when. It's just a waste of resources.
And that's why I'm more in the vein of whatever reporting is not gonna suck up all your time, but can provide a little more information, I think is what I'm trying to drive at. And again, I don't have strong opinions about what that looks like. I'm just stating it as.
I mean, I guess, Ron, I understand what you're saying. I'm kind of familiar with it. But I just don't understand why you wouldn't want to put out what you're dealing with. You know, I get the reports. They're great. And then I'm told that, oh, we're just so short staffed. We can't keep up. We got to do this. We got to do that. You know, we need more funding. We need this. Well, all right. Yeah, I know. But try to explain to the general public and what's going on is like almost impossible. But when they can see stuff, when they can see numbers, why wouldn't you be for trying to promote yourself?
I
You know
agree
what I'm
that
saying?
You can
It's
do
like-
that, but I think there needs to be a set parameters of expectations because there's so much data that could be provided, and it could be provided monthly, it could be provided every 3 months, it could be provided every 6 months. I think that it's good, but we need to outline a specific format and what data we want and how often we want to see
Well,
it, just
that's-
because it's there's so much out there.
I mean, we keep up on our social media. I think we're one of the few municipalities in Polk County that has a social media presence.
Mhm.
You know, we try to engage with the community as often as we can. And I have thought about doing a kind of an end of the year wrap up statistics. But the problem right now is, you know, we have been short staffed for the last year and a half.
Right.
And anything that I pull from 2+ years ago is going to be an outlier because we have half the officers working right now that we need to be.
Yeah.
Starting next year, it should be more normalized, you know?
Right.
And I guess, it's definitely something I can look into as far as like charts showing you statistics, like what type of citations we issue most.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
like,
these are just things I wanted to discuss is,
Your intent is to try to help him sell his efforts and
Yes,
potentially
yes.
get more resources.
I've been down this road before myself, and I had to work really hard to promote and push what I had to offer to the community. Even if you're shorthanded, you're doing it by yourself, or you got 2 people, 3, 4, 5, you know, you still have to push what you're doing. And, you know, to garner more support, to do whatever. And, you know, social media is great and whatever, but, you know, I just,
Maybe this is a good takeaway where you just go check and see what other best practices are out there, and
Yeah.
ideas, and come
I
back
mean-
and go, you know what, this looks like it's easy enough, I can add this without a
Yeah.
lot of resources.
I mean, I know Jen in the office, she's got a lot to do, but try to work with that or something, or come up with something. I'm not sure. I mean, I've got my ideas, but then again, my ideas are totally different than today's law enforcement.
Is this something we can discuss at a committee level?
Yeah, but that's all I'm saying.
Yep, sounds like a
Yeah.
committee thing.
That'd be fine. I think we've had this flavor of conversation before, so that's why when Van called, I was like, yeah, let's have it again, because I think I agree completely. It's about positioning the village and the police department so that you can communicate about what you're doing. I think it's a perfect committee level discussion to hammer out what that is, because to be honest, I don't know what data you have. I don't know.
I'm just gonna say, it's one of those things that once you get it dialed in and you have the report done, it'll be easy from there.
Totally.
Automatic.
Yep.
Automatic, yeah.
And again, that's just what I'm curious, like, what are you guys looking for as far as data? You know,
Yeah.
You know what we're
we can pull it. You know,
Well, yeah.
We're really good at making broad.
Yeah, well, we want blood. Sure, yeah.
I would say
how many
like the
beers were
main
spilled?
thing, like what are the top like 3 offenses
Yeah.
in Osceola? Maybe something like that rather than all the little,
Feels like Shark Tank right now.
Yeah.
all the little things.
A complete inventory of the evidence room every day.
Yeah, what it does, though,
personalized tours.
what it did was spark awareness that, oh, this, and this are happening. I need to have my eyes and my ears open. It's just an automatic thing for people when they get this information. They start, it becomes part of their life, and then it makes your job a
All right,
lot.
well, thanks for
Yeah.
that suggestion. I think it is
Yeah.
probably a good spot to go with that.
Yep.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess just to kind of close out on our end, I mean, we feel very fortunate to be working in Osceola. It's an awesome community where
Yeah.
we do feel supported by the board and the community at large. you know,
Right.
and ultimately, yeah, I mean, we're understaffed, but we're working towards it, and we're going to get to where we need to be.
I told you that before. We're gonna get there.
Like I have no doubt we're going to get there.
Yeah.
You know, it's actively happening.
Right.
And at the end of the day, people have budgets just like everyone else, and I
Yeah.
think that played more of a part in
Yeah.
anything than whatnot. But
Mhm.
I will look into getting more data that explains what we do on a day-to-day in more detail, and try to come up with some ideas and bring it to the police and fire committee.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting.
Oh.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, guys.
Okay, 9G, ongoing sewer maintenance bids.
Yeah, Rick, in the last month has gone out for bids or quotes for cleaning and televising the sanitary and stormwater infrastructure. Over the course of the next 3 years, he had 3 bids, and the low one is Great Lakes TV Seal. And we would recommend going forward with Great Lakes TV. Rick, anything you want to add?
No, happy to answer any questions. This is something that came about. I put this program together back in 2019. We had a contract with for 2019, 2020, 21, renewed, modified and renewed for 22, 23, and 24. That's when that provision ran out, so we went back out for RFP again. So we've worked with Great Lakes TV Seal for 6 of those years, and so there's no reason we would, given the RFP, there's no reason to reject.
And this is the first time we've ever televised our our stormwater
I don't know if Todd's doing any stormwater
as needed.
televising. I know there's some cleaning that he wanted to tack on.
But the future is available if we want to do in the future.
Absolutely is. So
So how many miles are you gonna cover of this?
30,000 feet a year.
Okay, so
I'm not gonna do that in my head.
6 miles.
6,
Sure.
5.5.
5.5 miles.
52.
5.5 miles a year.
For that
Yeah,
by
yeah.
52.
Okay.
So we've got the town is just sectioned off into 3 30,000 foot sections. It's 90,000 feet in roughly in total. So they move from one year to the next. We know known root areas, known bad areas, known flat areas, known sand areas. We just haven't hit them all. This is
Yeah.
no, it's a per each or per foot. So if they don't get to it, they don't bill us for it. If we happen to do extra, they bill us extra for it at the same price. So.
That's an amazing deal. It could save us a lot of trouble down the line.
Oh yeah, it's been a really good thing. We've actually saved quite a bit of money doing it this way too. The way this kind of came about is we would clean our own lines. We have a small trailer unit that is way undersized for what we have and doesn't perform anywhere near what they're doing. But then we would turn around and we'd actually hire a bunch of it out. And so we would do our own, and then we were like, oh, we can't vector, so we'll have to bring in a vector. And then, we'd charge mobilization for that. We were paying like $10,000 for like sections of town that were very, very small. And so we just packaged everything together and said, hey, do it all. We'll do our maintenance. When we go out like monthly, you've seen in my reports, we'll go out. Hey, there's a flat area here. There's this, is known to back up, or this is full of sand, and we'll go out and jet it. But, beyond that, this is the major cleaning, the major, the equipment they bring in is just so massive that it just does such a good job in our system. So, and is able to remove the sand where ours is not.
So we're looking for a motion to approve this expenditure?
Yep.
So moved.
Or to accept the,
Accept the low bid.
The low bid.
Great Lakes, yep.
Yep.
Yeah, great. I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Mike and a second by Van to accept the low bid from Great Lakes PV Seal. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, so moving on, so we get to 10. Now, 10 says the board may consider.
Well,
It doesn't say the board will.
well, it is a performance review or a checkup, and those are
So,
usually done in closed session.
As we approach the 3-hour mark of our meeting, I will give our board members the opportunity to consider that we may want to move this to our August meeting.
I'm all for that idea.
Typically, I've noticed August and September are the shortest meeting agendas yearly. And then we get to October and budgeting starts and they get longer again.
Are we really going on 3 hours?
Yes.
Unbelievable.
My battery says so.
Oh, you're dead.
And the way that this gets,
Turn it off because it was already dead.
the way that this gets implemented is that there is no motion made and then that item will then just float to the next month. So.
Correct.
Is there a motion to go to closed session? Seeing that there's no motion, we will move to item 11 on our agenda. Future agenda items and updates. Neil,
No.
Mike, anything?
Just to reiterate the alley, and if there's any other properties in town that we could sell, I'd be cool if we started to look into some of that, because I know we're
Me too.
budgeting things.
I have been saying this for years.
Well, I brought it up before I was on the board, but I thought it would be really neat to sell the old milk house lot.
An option.
Yeah. I think that's probably a nice little asset that could go away.
Van? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm done.
No,
Nothing for you?
I
I don't have anything. No. Ron? Nicole?
I would just like to, go back to the, police conversation about, understanding. Oh, sorry. Thank you. About, understanding what they do. I did a ride along last month and it's very, important that I think that the community maybe does, if they want to know what they're doing, just come down and ask for a ride along. You'll learn a lot.
Yeah, they're really cool.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. So.
Excellent. That's it. Wonderful. We're adjourned at 8:57.